one, that nemesis, thinking her shield is pure scale. War done the biz, I got my scythe on me. Pray to God I don't hit it, or you'd be the one on the gray scale. Yeah, spitting buzzer buzz, might even though it is shy. Fuck me, I need a new purpose in life. Yeah, welcome back to speed, fountain gang, rise up, run it down, no regrets, spawn back at the fountain. Yeah, fountain gang, Mr. Thana won't get removed from the team, but unlucky we try again. Pure skill flowing down my veins. No pussy guys on my track. Yeah, we talking about you, carry ugly ass, but give me a rest. Only thing you good at, you fucking old, but don't even get me started on you, Aries. Yeah, let's throw it back to some skill. Crucible, be my crucible bro. Spinning, flipping, pushing peace. My man knocks up woman on the daily while looking kinda hazy. What I wouldn't do to be my crucible bro. Spitting buzzer buzz, might even though it is shy. Fuck me, I need a new purpose in life. Yeah, I might be an old life, but you talking, walking, breathing, smile. Fuck man, you might need more help than me. You plebs are playing casual while I'm sitting in the Galarian League. I must be cooler, right? Never mind, casual's better than the bombshell. All the love to my boy princess, but babies ruined the league. Should have seen that coming when all the big egos come together, turning it into a competition on who can cry louder. What a shame, really guess we bout to move on. I'm sorry, SB, you fucking legend. All the love's spaced out.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to Glorious Smite League. This is, of course, Order of the Blight versus Archies, week 1 of the newest season. My name is Judas Priestley, and I am joined today with Blaze McBain. And this, if you are not aware, is round number 3 of So You Think You Can Cast. Now, Blaze, we're already getting into picks and bans nice and quickly. But are you excited for what is built up to be a fantastic game?
I'm always excited. You know, Comp Smite is just something I enjoy watching, whether it's casting as a viewer, playing in it. It's always a good time. So I'm looking forward to this. We see an early Kepri ban. You know, that man's always resin people, so that feels pretty good to get him out of the way, followed by a Lancelot and a Cupid. All meta picks right now. Good things to get off the table if you're either team. So nothing too out of the ordinary, too surprising. So just excited to be here today and do some casting for So You Think You Can Cast.
And of course, if you are not aware, Glorious Smite League is an EU draft league, so as this is the first week of games for this division, we might see some of these players just learning to gel together, maybe trying to work out exactly what works. So, what might seem like the top teams on paper, might have some mix-ups here and there. We'll have to see how it all goes through. Now, we're seeing already a couple of interesting jungle bans there. Pele and Loki banned out early on here. Very, very spicy there. I'm wondering, Blaze, if there's a little bit of target banning going on here.
Yeah, we were informed that Ragnarok has a pretty insane Loki, so not surprised to see that come off the table here. Am surprised to see Pele and Ratatasker, though. Ratatasker is a really good flex pick. Pele's been kind of on the rise a little bit. Not surprised not to see maybe something like a Daji come through. I don't think Pele's in the top 5 junglers, but if it's something that you're afraid of seeing a particular player playing, makes sense to come off the table. And then the first pick here is probably top 3 mages in the game right now. Yu Huang comes through with a very safe pick and does a lot of damage. And looks like we're going to get a Nemesis and Mulan pick up here. Nemesis really good right now. Haven't seen a lot of Mulan though. Am surprised to see this pick coming through, and I'm guessing we're going to see it solo, but it could go support.
Yeah, of course, always a little bit of flexibility is always nice to have early on in the draft, but we're not really seeing a lot of it yet. Mulan, like you said, possibly could play in support, but very, very, at least I'm very certain we'll be seeing it in the solo lane. But Yu Huang, I don't think really minds Mulan in the solo lane, even if Mulan, can close distance quite quickly, can provide some CC. That Celestial Flight from Yu Huang is just so damn safe, You can find yourself halfway up the middle lane, no matter what comes at you, though. Just float on back very gently into the safety of your tier 1 tower. But a couple more picks coming through. Is this the return of the high mitigation Raven solo Blaze? We've seen plenty of it in the past, but it's sort of fallen away for a while. But do you think it's still got a place at the moment?
I don't hate the mitigation Ravana build. I think it's still probably pretty good. I would like to see maybe more of the Haddock style build where we see that like Death's Toll and then building into some tankiness. We'll kind of see if that's what comes around. We do see the Daji here, in my opinion, probably... do I dare say the best jungler right now? I mean, I kind of do. If you hit the chains, she's the best. If you can't do that part, maybe she's not. But we do see the Merlin come through here. We've seen Merlin on the rise. He has that great objective secure. He brings a lot of CC. And if you haven't played tank Merlin, hit me up later. I'll send you a build. It's a blast.
I mean, I certainly know a couple of players who'd be more than up for a spicy build such as the Merlin, but I think you're spot on with the Daji, right? So much potential in this pick to just be, an outstanding, unstoppable force. However, what we tend to see required with Daji is a bit of extra beads burning going on. The Paolo, all right, it's fantastic at burning beads themselves, especially into this top 3 coming out from Archies, which doesn't actually have CC immune ultimates on any of the squishier targets. But you still want a little bit more, right? And I think, maybe at this point, you're looking at maybe a Xing Chan in support, something like a Fenrir support if you really want to go all in. But I think it does need that support to just be as outstanding as it possibly could be. But, these top 3s are both relatively strong from either side. And I think the only worry for me right now with Archie's team is it maybe a little bit slow, a bit tough to get off the ground?
Well, I think the thing that worries me is that Mulan has to dive in, and if you don't have something set up for peel or some type of orientation that you can work around that dive, that's what gets concerning for me for Mulan. We'll see how that plays out with the next two picks. We do see X-Ball get banned here. Oh, turn the lights out always is going to be useful, and those bolas definitely feel good. So probably a good idea to get him off the table. AMC, probably the most annoying hunter in the game, because bees, honey. What else do I need to tell you? Hives. His stinger shreds prots and kills you if you're a squishy, and a tank. So, good to see him gone. And then the flex pick Kabrakan comes off the table here. I think he is the masterful flex pick right now. Obviously, we kind of have an idea where everybody's going at the moment. So just getting him off the table because he's absolutely annoying is very good here for Archies. And then Order the Blight, say, hey, Yamoja's still here and no one's picked her, so let's get her off the table. I don't want to get caught in those rivers. And right now, that Merlin looking pretty good with some rivers. And we see the Kumba Karne is the next going to be locked in here. Very interesting to go along with this draft.
I actually, I'm a big fan of Kumba Karne in support. It's pretty good at, interrupting sort of channeled damage. And that's sort of how Daji and Raven will kill their targets. All right, they do have some decent damage, but it doesn't all come in an instant. It is sort of sustained over a little bit of time. Those 1,000 cuts coming from Daji can be mesmerized out, so there's always that little benefit to it. I think it is interesting, Blaze, something we don't often see in a picks and bans phase, that both teams actually left to pick their duo lane specifically, assuming everything goes as we would expect. So both teams vying for the higher picks, but we do see Heintel Xingqian coming out, and so Order of the Blight draft, I'm actually a massive fan of it right now.
Yeah, there's the beads burn you need to go with that Daji. I mean, Jing Chen just, picks them up, throws them just like a washing machine, and then put them out to dry with the Daji. And that's going to be followed up with a Heimdallr, and you're like, hey, he does the same thing Kumba Karne does. He takes someone out of the fight, except he's a hunter doing massive damage. So I really like this draft from Order of the Blight. We see the Hoi being hovered here for Archies. I'm not always a huge Hoi fan, even as a math teacher. You have to be really good at geometry if you're playing Hoi. So hopefully for Archies, their ADC has it all set up and ready to go. Shout out to Davros. I think that's a very brave pick here into this comp. No CC immunity at all going into Heimdallr, Xingqian, and Daji. I think this is a scary time for Archies.
Yeah, and especially if you are Davros on this Hu Heimdall's whole lane setup, right, is you just sort of get close to your opponent, set them up, send them through the Bifrost, and whether they beads it or not, doesn't matter. You already sort of win the fight as long as you can take that. And, Hui, like you say, no CC immune ultimate, has to either be very, very careful in their positioning, because if those beads are down, there is so much in the way to punish it. But, looking at both drafts, now that we've seen the full 5 from either side, do you have one side that you're particularly favoring?
I'm definitely favoring Order of the Blight. I mean, they have everything you want to comp. I think they could dive, they can play aggressive, they can also you just step back and be able to play peel oriented. They're going to be able to counter dive, and I think that is very strong. When I look over here, where Mulan needs to be able to get in, Kumba, great peel. As long as you're not, hopefully you can't get the Odibo and Hoi, because that could cause some problems. But I do like Order of the Blight.
All right, well, we'll have to see how accurate Blaze McBain's going to be with their prediction. We're going to hold you to that one, Blaze, and see how it comes in at the end of the game. But we are now transitioning into game number 1 of this best of 3 set. So for this Order side, we have Order of the Blight with Max on Raven in the solo lane, Dioi picking up Daji in the jungle, Mino Kino on the ever high present in competitive play, Yu Huang in the middle lane, with J-Rod Jr. on Xingqian as the support, and Otiro on Heimdall the Hunter. Meanwhile, for the Chaos side, for Archies, we have Nikos picking up Mulan in the solo lane. We have Ragnarok on Nemesis in the jungle, Seagull playing Merlin in the middle lane, with Frostbite 20 playing Kumba Karne support, and Davros as Hui the Hunter. Now, interestingly, Blaze, we are seeing both sides opt for the same mid and jungle start, where they go from red buff to speed buff. Has this just sort of turned out to be the best overall start?
I think it really depends on your draft and how you feel about your mid laner going to mid by themselves. Do you think the enemy team's going to do it too? Are they going to be allowed to farm safely? Yu Huang's able to do that. Merlin, not so much. So a little bit surprising not to see they go to speed, go to red. But I do think it is the more optimal start if you're trying to get your jungle online as quickly as possible.
Now, of course, we have seen with this start, you tend to find both junglers end up near about the solo lane, maybe looking for an opportunity. But I would say Mulan and Raven both pretty comfortable with early ganks. They can deal with them pretty handily. Looks like it'll just be a totem of coup for Dioi as Ragnarok makes to see if there's any opportunities onto Mino Kino early on. But very safe is this Yu Huang, as we've discussed, and it's especially safe at full health and at their own tower line. So very, very small win there coming out for Order of the Blight. And I think it just looks like there's going to be some attention in this dual lane. But right now, both teams opting to farm it up and play it slowly.
I think the biggest and most interesting thing we got going on right now is the fact that Mulan picked up Tainted Steel as the starter item between the two teams here. And that is not a starter item we see very often get picked up. So surprising to see that there. We see a little bit of deviation between the hunters, the junglers, and that's pretty normal. The Eye of the Jungle, Boomba is still kind of being fought over. Eye of the Jungle is better now. And I think the ADC is just preference, as Kumba is low over here on this left-hand side.
Lower cost, but does still have that sleeping passive and will, probably still be quite safe. But you definitely have to be careful. Dual lane right now is not a spot of a lot of action, as we see Max getting very low in the solo lane. But in dual lane, kills aren't really happening, certainly in the way they were before the 9.5 patch, but a bit of a brawl in the mid lane as Seagull, also low health. Finally, some of these sparks starting to ignite Blaze, but neither side really getting much of an edge just yet.
Oh, do get the beads off the Merlin. That's going to feel pretty good if you're Daji, because when you hit 5, they're still going to be down. You're going to be able to hopefully get a pull with that powwow, maybe pick up a first blood if it hasn't fallen to anyone yet. I do think right now we're going to see a lot of little poking and prodding. I'm expecting a little bit more aggressiveness in this dual lane with the Jingchen Heimdallr, but we'll have to see how that goes. Overall, though, just a pretty standard early game, and no one's fallen yet.
No one falling, and everyone sizing each other up. Of course, this is an EU-based game. We do tend to find these slower styles, maybe a bit more tactical and a bit more methodical. But right now, the method is play safe, and the strategy is wait until later on. But, if we do have a very, very slow early game, and we sort of show up to the mid-game with a low or maybe even no kills, which team would you say that benefits at the moment?
I think if this is slow going, that benefits Archies. It's allowed them to just come up online feeling pretty good about it. This Order of the Blight team, I think, is scary at all parts of the game, whether it's early, mid, and late, just with their setup, as Frostbite is under pressure here.
Yet again, falling very, very low. Still has the passive online, though, so not under as much pressure as you maybe could find, but we did see that Archie's dual lane was trying to get aggressive as Dioi, trying to get aggressive at this red buff. And, it's interesting to see both teams, sniffing around for an opportunity, especially Dioi in this mid lane, of course, is level 5. Does not get the Trickster Spirit off, though. Just sort of weirdly moves in place there. Not quite sure what happened, but definitely trying to make a play onto this Merlin, of course, who has the Purification Beads offline for another minute or so. That's got to be where you are looking to make the play. And I think Order of the Blight, trying to take down this Oracles or maybe get aggressive, but Frostbite now very, very in a lot of trouble, I should say, getting smacked up. But first blood taken away from Order of the Blight's dual lane, as in the solo lane. Archies already take down mechs on this Raven. I'll keep going as Seagull, finally pulled in by that Paula, will have nowhere to go. And just like that, Blaze, 3 kills in about 3 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, everybody decided they wanted to go in at the same time. A great engage by Otiro over there on the left-hand side to go in on this Kumakarna and say, hey, I think I might be able to get the kill. The Crystalline was a little bit questionable at first, and I saw maybe it was a bait. It ended up being a kill, but it was the second kill as Nikos ends up picking up first blood over there with Ragnarok against mechs. Yeah, I think that Tainted Steel actually paid off. It's counteracting that Soiter pretty well, so maybe that's just, something I should have thought of and I just didn't. But overall, great play here by Nikos. And then we did see, Merlin had to fall. Seagull had to go because the beads were down, and that's going to be to be expected. Anytime beads are down, I expect Dodgy to be near that lane, near that person, and looking for a powwow to take them out.
Yeah, of course, punishing that very clear opportunity, right? It almost has to happen, right? If you are Order of the Blight and you get those early beads from Merlin, that exact play has to happen. So, it's not exactly a misplay from Seagull. It's just how it works, right? That is just good competitive play. You communicate that those beads are down and you make another opportunity in. And I don't think that's going to show any signs of slowing, because J-Rod Jr. now getting very aggressive on the Xingqian can very easily burn those beads again. So we might see another situation where Seagull's beadsless.
Yeah, and J-Rod does already have the male renewal online, whereas Frostbite decided to go for this Mana Core spikes, which we've been seeing on the rise. I mean, I expect we're probably going to see about 4 of them this game, 2 for each team. There's a possibility we see more, but that item has just been insanely good when you have low cooldown CC. It gives you a damage buff or your teammate a damage buff, and that's absolutely huge in this new meta where time to kill is drastically longer than it was before 9.5.
Yeah, of course, and any extra damage you can find is always great. Now, it's Zero getting very, very aggressive. Davros juking and weaving, ducking and diving, does not get away, though, as Utiro finds that last axe throw, and now Dioi goes up into the parallel, looking for Ragnarok, can't quite connect. Oh, yes, they can, as the parallel pulls one in, but Dioi gets lifted to the sky. Doesn't matter, though, because J-Rod Jr. is there to clean up that kill. Now, Seagull trying to get aggressive, actually flickers forward to try to find Dioi. Can't spot out this Daji, though. Gets caught by the dueling dragons, but Purification beats down again on this Merlin, and our Order of the Blight get away scot-free and pick up a cheap kill on the left-hand side and in the mid lane. It's turned out to be a very, very good start for the Order side.
DOA got away squeaky clean there. I thought for sure any type of Merlin ability was going to come over that wall and say goodbye to the Daji, but unfortunately that dueling dragons was really well played, and guess what Merlin doesn't have again? Beats. I expect Seagull to be under pressure again, and this is going to be a scary time for Archies as this kill lead and gold lead and XP lead all start going in favor of Order of the Blight.
And of course, it's quite early for such a lead. It's not too much of a gold lead, but experience is where it really shines, and already seeing a 2,000 experience lead. All right, there are a few kills, but also the farm, the buff invades going down as well. We did see, earlier on there was a red buff steal attempted already. It wasn't successful from Order of the Blight, but it just means that Archies are less and less safe across the map, and they don't really have a way in yet. They haven't had the chance to stamp their authority on the game. But if you are Archies, where is your, I don't want to call it win condition, it's a bit too early to be considering that, but where is your way to maybe turn some of these fights around, especially when you have Seagull with no bead still?
I think you have to find a way to either zone out this Daji or find a way to catch the Daji on wards and be able to get a kill early on Dioi here. If you can take Dioi out, I think that opens up a lot of opportunity where you only have to worry about the Xingqian, who obviously is more tanky, but also Otirio now under pressure here is the next one that also should be looked at. Hasn't rotated to team fights, but, under pressure.
We'll pick up one kill and we'll just teleport all the way on out of there. Heartbreaking for Archies. They thought they had a clear line onto Otirio, but the reaction to just knock Ragnarok right on out of there, continue the 1v1 and teleport on out, that is crushing for Archies. Not just, in the sense that this Heimdall now 3-0-0 already off to a great start, but just mentally as well. For we had a good angle, we had a good plan, and it just completely falls apart right there. I mean, what do you do now? How do you take this Heimdall down next time if you know that? I mean, that could happen again.
I mean, this is what you have to worry about. It's the same thing with the Kumbhakarna, right? You can take one person completely out of the fight, and he goes, oh, it's a 1v2? Cool, let me change it back to a 1v1 real quick. Take somebody out, and then now it's a 1v1 again. Do I really want to fight the Nemesis as a hunter? Probably not. Let me crystal on out of here. I think that becomes problematic. You see the escapability, but also the likeliness of being able to lock one person down and make it hard for them to play the game. And this is where you have to start worrying about where can we exert pressure as a team. And I think that's going to involve getting the Mulan over towards the mid and duo lane sooner rather than later. But that's hard to do because you leave up so much free farm for this Ravana.
Yeah, of course, that's pretty much the only lane that Archies have a decent start at the moment. Now, they're not too far behind, right? It's not like this is a ridiculous lead that Order of the Blight have built up. But it's just sort of a pattern, you know, and that's just Frostbite trying to defend this purple buff. Will actually manage to take that away. So that's a small win. And I think if you are Archies, you do have to start with these small wins to turn them into the big wins. Now, as you mentioned, as we get further into this game, Archie's team composition will come online and will have an impact. But to keep Nikos pinned in this lane, they've actually pushed up the Trebuchet as well. So it certainly doesn't get easier for Archies by any stretch.
No, and I mean, the gold lead, definitely manageable here. It's really going to come down to, like, if they can get a pick and get an objective, I think that's going to feel very good for them. Seagull, very much even. You know, Nikos, very much a little bit ahead, so even. So the experience lead is other places, and I think that's a good thing. You have a mid and solo that are feeling pretty good right now. But it does feel bad when you try to gank a duo lane, and it's a 1v2, and that feels bad. I think, you know, you see this Dodgy making such an impact in your Nemesis, and you're like, okay, I got to catch up. I think that's hard. As DOA gets aggressive again, oh my goodness.
Diving on to Seagull, who'd already had the Purification Beads burned. Now, it didn't really matter there, but Dio did go up into the Paolo. So, at least, if you are Seagull, you can say you got another ultimate off the table. But now they're going to try to turn this into a red buff. But Dio, though, maybe overstayed their welcome. There's the slice and dice coming through. A nice hook slam from J-Rod Jr. gives enough time for Dio to teleport on out of there to Mino Kino in support. And it's just how it's going, right? Order of the Blight and making these plays happen, and they're not being punished for it yet.
DOA has to have like a special luck charm on that says I get to get out for free. Like he has a get out of jail for free card or something, because at least 90% of the time there, the dodgy falls. Like that is just insane. You know, really good play by DOA there to be able to get out. And again, this game is still very manageable for Archies. It's just slowing it down, recouping, and saying, hey guys, where do we want to get together at? What is the plan that we want to do? This is a draft league. People are still getting used to each other. And that's completely fine. This is to be expected. Sometimes there's a little bit of growing pains. So, you know, talk, communicate, and I think this is still very much manageable for Archies.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. You know, you would expect to see maybe a grouping at Pyromancer. I mean, Okino takes a chunk of damage holding on to that Celestial Flight, but no need to be greedy with that ability, you know? They just don't have to step up after that. Now, Seagull coming under a little bit more pressure. There's the Will and Rage and Steel. No Purification Beads online. And there's DI on Seagull. Oh, so much damage coming up from Mino Kino with that charged up Dow. And despite Frostbite's attempt at a peel, it's just not going to be enough. Now, Hero's making the long rotation over. Frostbite, you need to be more aware of what the situation you're in, buddy. That's a big four-man grouping in the mid lane already. Paolo comes down. Frostbite goes down despite getting into that sleepy passive again on the right-hand side of the map. Mex is trying to invade a blue buff. Might have even succeeded with a blue buff invade. And now the Gold Fury on the left-hand side because the jungler rotated to the right-hand side. Oh, Blaze, it's just all going so badly.
Yeah, this is unfortunate. Like, you get the vision on the jungle solo. You just took out two members, and you go, the only thing we have to worry about is Toyi walking up. We have a ward. We can go pull Gold Fury. And this is where you have to start worrying a little bit. You know, this gold lead now just went to almost 4,000 gold exactly. The XP lead still growing. You have to find a way to shut down Otiro and the Dodgy, the Dioi. You have to find it. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know what grouping that's going to take place. You have to be able to catch out one of these and shut them down. They're getting a massive lead in both sides, and it will become hard to deal with, especially when Otiro can rotate over and make the impact that just happened in the mid lane.
Seeing a bit of a grouping on this right-hand side of the jungle. Dio getting aggressive. Nico's maybe finally finding an opportunity to get into the fight. But, you know, as they get the numbers, they also go on the retreat to the rest of Archies. So, you know, they're almost considering these plays, but not willing to go for it just yet. I can't say that's the worst thing in the world, because you do need to, you know, slow it down a bit. But this just means the Pyromancer is going to go for free to Order of the Blight. And again, Archies missed their window to make a play happen.
I mean, I think they might have caught Dioi on a ward, and if I see Dioi walking up, and I don't know if we have the damage to confirm a kill, once again, walking out, you've got to be kidding me. Like, Dioi is just living every single time. You think you have him, and you don't.
Well, when Rage and Steel comes through, but just to throw off all of these members, Seagull must be quite happy to see that ability not being used on them. But already these fights, you know, going very cleanly the way of Order of the Blight. Even if they don't get a kill, they don't die for it either. It's just this very early kill in solo lane onto Nikos. But other than that, Order of the Blight have played really, really clean. In fact, it is actually just first blood. So right now, throughout the game, it's been 8 kills straight for Order of the Blight. And Davros, 4 levels down, gets caught long range. Will have to burn the purification beads, but so does Otiro, actually, I think. I'm not quite certain on that. In fact, yes, it was, but Otiro more than comfortable in this lane and absolutely bullying Davros at this stage.
Yeah, Otiro is absolutely massive. Level 16 at 15 minutes is about to tick over. If you're level 16 as an ADC before 16 minutes, you're feeling amazing right now. And really has been just allowed to kind of free farm over there by themselves. You can't complain. The build's looking really good. You have Trans, Aussie, Kins. He's shredding anybody and everybody that walks over there right now. They're going to have to group up in order to take him out. So I'm expecting that to come around here sooner or later. We do see 2 more Manticore spikes. One has been built. One is on the way. Just a very good item. 2 of them are over here for Archies, though, and maybe that little bit of extra damage will allow them to start taking out Duoy and Otiro.
Oh, a bit of a slap fight coming on between the 2 supports here. J-Rod Jr. taking the worst of it, though, and will leap on away. It has to be pointed out that Frostbite has managed to stay within levels of the opposing support, so that's at least a small win. Other than that, though, levels across the board going pretty in favor of Order of the Blight, apart from the jungle as well. But it almost doesn't matter in the jungle when Daji's had such an impact on this game already, and from Ragnarok and Nemesis, barely seen them being able to get involved yet. Now, Nemesis, of course, does take some time to get online, but when's the trigger point for Ragnarok? When is the item or the level where they say, all right, I'm going in?
I mean, you have to have that Kumbhakarna with you. I think you need some type of setup there for you, or to stay with you to make sure they can peel you out. And unfortunately, that just hasn't got to come to fruition yet, as now there's a huge fight breaking out on this right side.
Finally comes in from Archies. There's a nice triple stun coming through, but getting lifted into the sky is Mex, not able to take too much part. Dioi, finally low health, does get caught by Nikos, but a nice purification beads will keep them alive. Now Mex on the Ragnarok, finds a kill onto Ragnarok. Minokino gets stunned out. Can Frostbite find the last little bit of damage? Do they have that belly flop into the backside of the Ukrang? Though don't quite yet, but Seagull's got some dragons to breathe some fire. And now Mex gets pulled on back out of this fight. Now Archies have finally taken a reasonable fight. It's just the one pick, but they have to take whatever they can get. Mex giving chase might finally start to peter out, but there's already a bit of a grouping. It's just to cost the support and solo, but Dioi back on scene. Nikos does get the stun coming out, doing a lot of damage to the enemy jungler. A lot of back and forth fighting. J-Rod Jr., low health, will leap back under tower, but Nikos now the problem, and this fight continues on, Blaze.
Yes, the Soul Eater doing a lot of work here for Nikos. As Frostbite goes in, they're able to pick up another kill. Seagull falls, but Nico picks up the double here, and that has to feel good if you're Archies.
Yeah, they also get the tier 1 tower in the process. It was a long fight. It was very, very extended, which maybe doesn't benefit Archies, but with how they managed to eventually clean up these extra kills, get that little bit of gold in the pocket, it's gotta be a win. But Otiro on this left-hand side, still split pushing, still causing a headache for Davros.
Yeah, I mean, you take the 4v4 and you win it, that feels pretty good. The problem is as soon as Otiro rotates, it's going to become a problem. But I do think that's a confidence builder for Archies there. It was a little bit of a sloppy fight by both teams that went around that tier 1 tower. They even picked up the tier 1 tower. So they kept the gold lead from extending any further than it already had. They get a little bit of shutdown gold going on in XP. Overall, if I'm Archies, I feel pretty good about that fight and going into the next team fight.
Of course, it's not always about winning the game in one fight. You do need to take the small victories. Now, that is a relatively small victory, but like I mentioned earlier, for the morale of the team, not that they would have been too down about this lead, but now you can get some kills, you can clean up Dioi. We saw the damage that Nikos was doing in a 1v1, and Dioi, despite having a really strong start on this Daji, they can't take on the whole world. That's not Daji's game. That's not what Daji will do. So I think, like you said earlier, Nikos getting involved in these fights will just be huge for Archies. But Order of the Blight taking away another Pyromancer.
Yeah, and they're going to have to get more anti-heal for Order of the Blight than just the Brawler's Beat Stick, because that's going to help shut down Dioi.
A lot of damage coming through. Another Whirlwind to Rage and Steel. But now Mino Kino getting chased down by Ragnarok. Dueling Dragons will keep them safe. And I'm not sure Nemesis can close the distance any longer. It's a very big grouping, but nobody falling down just yet. But there's the epic uppercut coming through. Ragnarok falls down again to Mex on the backside. Diaoi this time falls down as those suns rain down because of the rotation from Davros. Now Frostbite low health, but Otiro on the scene. What can Otiro finally do that? They're joining into these fights. Mex giving chase. Nice root coming through from Frostbite, who will be the sacrificial lamb in this situation. Pyromancer, I believe, went the way of Order of the Blight, and they also take the fight afterwards, but Archies really putting up a staunch defense. But Fire Giant now being considered, this looks a little bit risky.
I think it is. They do know where Nikos is at, but Nikos' healing has been insane thus far. And like I said, Order of the Blight only has one anti-heal item online right now. Nikos going in. J-Rod should be on fire here. Yeah. Whew. It is a risky play. They're going to have to
Fire Giant. Oh, Fire Giant very dangerous because, only half health. They make an attempt. I don't know. I know Otiro's pretty strong at this moment, but with the build, it's not particularly good at shredding objectives. So maybe not the best call, but I don't know, Blaze. What do you think they were thinking there?
I think they saw, hey, we have one person backed, the other person's over in left lane. The only person we have to worry about is this solo, as Otiro's under fire here. Is able to teleport out. Thank everything for that, because that was about to be really, really bad for the Blight. That would have opened up Fire Giant for Archies, possibly. I think they saw people back, and they said, hey, we have a chance to try to pull this. Let's see what's happened. Maybe we can bait Nikos into walking in, and we can pick up another kill. Little do they know, Nikos does lots of damage, has anti-heal, and has lifesteal. Overall, just feeling really good.
Seagull, though, being chased down yet again. Daji into Merlin is just a really, really strong pick, and Seagull feeling the full brunt of it. Now, this time, looks like Order of the Blight going to go for the much, much safer Primal Fury take, and I don't think we'll be seeing Archies contesting this one, but signs of life for Archies, it does have to be said, and I think Order of the Blight, they might struggle when it comes to this Fire Giant take eventually.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the damage numbers right now, it's Nikos and Seagull leading the charts with, the flexing of Mino into that top 3 there. It's very consistent. You have 5 people between 13,000 and 14,500. So the damage is pretty close, but Archies aren't far behind on this damage chart. And I think that speaks a lot, despite the deficit that they've faced, which is now 8,000 gold, which is starting to become that's an item. That's going to be feeling drastic in some situations with these team fights when it's a 5v5.
Yeah, full item across the board, of course. And, it's still relatively early on. I mean, we're getting to that stage where both teams need to be focused on Fire Giant, right? But both the Hunters, opting to stay in this left-hand side of the map, farm it up. No real objectives on the map just this moment other than the Fire Giant. So, Archies maybe can take a bit of comfort in that. I don't think Order of the Blight get a clean take without winning a fight beforehand. So Archies just have to show face, but not really take the fight. They just need to be around and not really cause any major mistakes. But getting very aggressive is Frostbite, draining the milk from the enemy Obelisk, and we'll be getting collapsed on this left-hand side of the map. And just going to fall down. I've got to be honest, really dislike that play, and now the map is wide open for Order of the Blight.
I'm not really sure what the plan was there. I mean, stopping him from getting a Treb, sure. In risk of your life, seems a little bit strange. Now, if they can get a pick on, anybody else, this starts opening up the idea of them going for fire. I really think they have to get Nikos low and force Nikos out in order to pull fire. The amount of healing and now the upgraded Tainted is just going to feel really, really good engaging here. But they are pulling this Fire Giant for free. No one's coming from Archies.
Well,
wow.
I'm a bit shocked, but I mean that's what happens, right? I was just in the middle of saying, just show face, don't do anything crazy, and unfortunately Frostbite didn't get the memo. Falls down at the enemy Obelisk, and Fire Giant walked on through. Now, I see what you're saying with Nikos, right? I do think Nikos could have put up a fight, but with the amount of damage that they did have on board, if the follow-up wasn't correct from Archies, then it just turns into a full team fight that Archies really don't want to take with such a deficit. Now, we're going to have to be talking about Phoenix defenses, right? And does this Archies team comp do well in that sort of situation?
I think if they can get the right target uppercutted, then it helps drastically here, because then you have this Mulan that can isolate another target and they can blow them up. But I do think that becomes a problem with the Phoenix defense, is like you have to make sure you're hitting all the right targets. And sometimes it's very chaotic, as we see a team fight breaking out here and a powwow coming through.
Well, I talked about Phoenix defense, but you can't defend a Phoenix from outside of the Phoenix. And now it looks like Order of the Blight pushing in further forward. J-Rod Jr. gets in with the Whirlwind Rage and Steel, but gets blown up, though. Takes a ton of damage for their troubles. So, that is a support for the Order side down. And in fact, for both supports. And now Mech's low health falls down to the Phoenix, getting a little bit ahead of themselves. They're leaping over the dueling dragons. Is Davros, but Nico's low health. Can Otiro close the distance with that Gjallarhorn? Yes, they can. They get the kill onto Nico's. Fall low to the Phoenix. Are still alive. But then blinking forward is Ragnarok and will pay the price for it. Double kill for Otiro. They're trying to get the pick on this Heimdall. They finally managed to get it. There's a shutdown coming through. Seagull low health fighting Dioi. And a big overstay from Order of the Blight means they do get a Phoenix, but they drop a ton of kills in the process.
This is insane. Hey, Otiro is a mad lad for staying under that Phoenix and taking Phoenix shots to secure it. And then the follow-up here, this fight is just a very back and forth. It could have really went either way. Luckily for Archies, it went in their favor, and this slows it down a little bit. They did lose a Phoenix, but they picked up a lot on the backside of that, getting 4 kills in their favor. This is huge for Archies. That's a major confidence booster going, hey, we might have lost Phoenix, but we can defend. We have the capabilities of fighting this 5v5. And again, it comes down to, can we get the right targets out of the fight? The Suns there by Davros is insane. So well played to get that early pick and make sure that it swung things back into their favor. Overall, huge play and great communication there by Archies to solidify. They lost the Phoenix, but they do solidify taking out 4.
And it has to be said as well, all 5 members of Order of the Blight had Fire Giant, and all 5 members have now lost it. So Archies, not on even footing by any means, but the gold lead is low. It's lower than it has been for a while. Looks like they're going to go for this Primal Fury as well. So, a lot of gold in the pocket. Otiro pushed up. It's actually all alone. And I wonder if Order of the Blight are aware of this. Now, Otiro does get the Bifrost Crystal just a little bit away. Coming through is J-Rod Jr. with a Whirlwind Rage and Steel onto 2. That's a lot of damage coming through onto Nico. So in the front line already gone. Dueling Dragons comes on out. J-Rod really low and will fall down after all of that, though. But now giving chase our Order of the Blight. There is Mex on this. Raven does get a little bit of a slow from Seagull, though. It's full retreat for Archies, but Mex doesn't want any of that. He's using the Mystic Rush forward, finds everyone grouped on up. Frostbite will fall down. That Sleeping Giant will block. Too many more aggression coming out from Order of the Blight, but now they're pushing down a tier 2, and they might make another attempt at this Phoenix.
Oh, they're going for Phoenix. The targets are having to back off, regenerate their health. And no, they actually end up falling off. I think they could have made a reasonable fight there at the Phoenix, but instead decided to play a little bit safe. And nothing wrong with that. You're like, hey, we still have the lead. We just got to pick. Let's slow it down. Let's make sure that we feel comfortable about the fights that we're going to take going forward. I am surprised they didn't go for it, but I do think it's the smart move for them to slow it down, make sure they finish up any type of itemization they can get pots online, make sure they have wards, and start setting up for this next Fire Giant. This is going to be pretty impactful. If they wait the 2 minutes, it becomes enhanced, and I expect that's what both teams are going to do here, is a little bit of a dance at 30 minutes. Someone's going to get picked, and it's going to lead to a Fire Giant.
Still a mid lane Phoenix down for Archies for another 30 seconds or so, but they definitely need to put up a defense of this Fire Giant in some fashion. They got away with that first one, a big overstay from Order of the Blight, but they may not get so lucky this next time. But taking it slow, our Order of the Blight, of course, just taking away some ward coverage, get this Scorpion, get the enemy Scorpion as the Fire Giant does crash on down. But when we do get to this sort of dance stage at this Fire Giant, where do you think the real spark point will be? Is it Order of the Blight? Are they the ones looking to take this fight early?
I have a feeling they're going to try to force Archies into stepping forward and making a mistake. Now, don't get me wrong, Otiro has been playing pretty aggressive on this Heimdallr and kind of baiting some fights like we saw over there at the red buff. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Heimdall step forward, but I would like to believe that they're going to let Archies play into this. And instead, Mex gets uppercutted up into the air.
Mex doesn't mind too much. Apart from that triple bounce, they do mind that. Now, Frostbite takes a ton of damage, but there's Nikos dashing forward, catches Otiro, who does manage to get through that Bifrost Crystal. Now, Dioi, going forward with the Trickster Spirit, has to quickly get on back out of there, though, as a bit of a flare point already, as I think a few of the members of Order of the Blight weren't on the scene. But now we get back to this bit of a dance, and Archies have taken a lot of damage, might have to back off.
Yeah, we see Frostbite getting the back, and they're not going to let him back. They instead go in.
There's the Powwow coming through. Doesn't connect, though. Big cooldown off the map. Of course, no sleepy passive for Frostbite, so it doesn't have that available to them. Will and Rage and Steel from Nikos forces out a Purification Beads from Nikos. And now this time, Order of the Blight have all the territory and will start up this now enhanced Fire Giant. But Archie's here to put up their own defense. Ragnarok sneaking around the right-hand side. Fire Giant about 40% health. Otiro seems to be taking a few more shots. Ragnarok really has a close angle and is trying to get in, but can't get in because Mex is going in with a Mystic Rush, but does fall down. Nikos also falls down in response. It's 1-for-1 at the moment. Both solo laners taking an early death in this fight, but the Fire Giant has reset, has regained all of their health. And Seagull will back to base. Davros still around. J-Rod Jr. taking some easy shots from Frostbite, but does have to be careful. Any pick is massively impactful right now. Of course, the mid lane Phoenix is up for Archies, and they are choosing now to take a stand.
Yeah, Seagull had an amazing Aegis there that saved the life of this Merlin. Really was about to fall, and instead they're able to pick up a kill on that backside against Mex. But Nikos is down too, so both solo laners are gone for both teams. I think that leaves it as a very interesting setup here. The support and the carries, it could be an interesting fight. We do see both teams choosing to have some members back. That mid lane Phoenix will survive and get to regen up to its top health that it's able to have after this regeneration. I think that is huge for Archies. And now this evens out the fight a little bit more as a tier 1 tower finally falls in mid in favor of Archies. But again, we have to see who are they going to allow to step up. The Order of the Blight did get pretty aggressive there. I do think they got pretty good baited itemization there. They also got a lot of beads that still aren't up, and all the relics are on the board for Order of the Blight. So this next fight is crucial for Archies to try to get some of these relics off the map.
Of course, if you do allow gods like Heimdall to just keep those beads and Aegis for free, they will punish you for it, especially with the way that Otiro has been playing this god. Now, Pyromancer being started up, being baited forward. You have to be, careful they don't focus too heavily on it. Nice root comes through. J-Rod Jr. takes a lot of damage early on. There's a Will and Rage and Steel, but this Xing Chen is basically out of the fight. Blinking forward as Frostbite gets the uppercut on the target they were looking for, but heals up with the Mail of Renewal. Now a lot of damage coming through from both sides. Otiro out of the fight. Minokino being charged down by 3 members, and there's just Ragnarok, but there's Dioi with a Powwow pulling back the front line, and they're trying to catch down one member of Order of the Blight who's caught stray. But now the backline both grouped up. Frostbite low health does fall down into that sleepy passive. Nikos dashing all the way in. Minokino so low, gets up into the sky though. Otiro low health as well, does fall to Ragnarok, who falls in response to Minokino. But a lot of kills back and forth. Mex will drop as well. On the backside, it's just Dioi left alive with a few low health members from Archies. They have won this fight. Can they take anything afterwards?
Dioi really trying to play distractor here. Let that Treb push up on that left side to get damage onto that Phoenix if possible, and doing a good job of this. Huge fight by Archies, though. Way to put together a fight, get some relics off the table, and swing things in your favor here. I would like to see them probably quit chasing. Go ahead and take that Treb off the map. But Archies, just a huge play. And now Davros, 7-2-2. On this Hui has been making a huge impact with the setup that's been allowed by his jungler support and this Merlin here, really just allowing him to play the game. Archie's swinging things back their way. Only 5,000 gold down, and gold isn't as big of an issue right now with most of the builds being done. We do see Xing Chen still working on his second to last item, and then Frostbite finishing up or working on the last item. So overall, builds are almost done. Gold's not as big of a deal besides pots, but I'm happy to see Archie's able to fight back into this and keep this game going.
Taking this Oni Fury, of course, will be great for Archies. Does relieve all of the pressure that has slowly built up through these minion waves in favor of Order of the Blight. And as you were discussing earlier, Blaze, the relic situation now not so good for Order of the Blight, especially Otiro. The beads will be back up relatively soon. But if Archies can get in early, there are some opportunities for them. But looks like we'll just see a full-on 5v5 grouping now. But Order of the Blight have been in the lead through most of this game, but now seem to be faltering just a touch. What do you think they need to do to really tighten up for this next fight?
I think they need to figure out how to deal with this Kumbhakarna. This Kumbhakarna has been able to isolate a target and get them out this past few fights. That's really, really just helped them set up damage. Not only that, whenever he's gone down to his passive, he's been able to get a nice mez off. And then you have Nikos over here, again, being able to pull a target, get really good damage off on this Mulan. Overall, I mean, that's huge setup. And I think they have to figure out how are they going to go through and deal with that. You have this Jing Chen, you know, maybe you try to grab somebody with that and isolate them and get a kill. But overall, the isolation by Archies has been in their tanks has been very, very good thus far. Really, I think that's what they have to do. They could also go for a pick on one of these carries, but they've tried that the past couple times, and they haven't been able to finish off the kill. Seagull got out last time with just a hair of health, and that has to feel bad. You have to find a way to deal with these frontliners, and there it is, Frostbite getting pulled in.
Frostbite already falling down. No sleepy passive up. Mechs on the back line means that this has to be a retreat from Archies, but the Mystic Rush won't let that happen. Seagull already low, gets hooked by the Paolo, and will fall down already. Double kill for Dioi as Nikos gets rooted out. Does manage to get away under their own tier 2 tower, but there's a lot of damage done to Archies, and now they should be turning their attention to Fire Giant. Blaze, you called it exactly like it needed to be done, and Order the Blight as if you were coaching them. Pull it off to perfection and should get a very free Fire Giant.
Yeah, I mean, just great play there by the whole team at Order of the Blight. He gets set up by J-Rod there, you know, is able to grab Frostbite, isolate him, they blow him up, and then that leads to this more damage. They get Nikos out of the fight, and really now they have to play Phoenix defense in a 5v3, and that's a scary time if you're Archies. Not going to say they can't do it, because really they've shown up these past few fights, and I have a feeling they might be able to at least get a pick here that might try to slow down Order of the Blight.
Well, right side Phoenix is sacrificed. They're going to let that one go. Maybe we'll put up a 4-man defense in this middle lane, and looks like Order of the Blight will take it a bit slower. We'll retreat back to the lane to push up and take their time, because, you know, it was a big overcommit at the mid Phoenix last time, and you certainly don't want to do that again, especially with your enhanced Fire Giant. But I don't know, it all just went so wrong for Archies in a very quick moment. They found some joy focusing out the enemy support early on, but this time no sleepy passive available for Frostbite. Just means they fall down too quickly for the rest of the team to follow up, and the chase from Order of the Blight is fantastic, you know, with Dioi and Mex on their god choices. Just means that if a fight doesn't start well for Archies, it goes downhill very, very quickly. But, you know, taking the time a bit, our Order of the Blight, do you think Archies have it in them to put up another Phoenix defense?
I think it's really hard to do against Enhanced Fire Giant, but the way they've played the past several, like besides the last fight at Fire Giant, the few before that, they've played very well in isolating targets with this Kumbhakarna. And I think that is going to be to their favor. They might be able to make a defense here. The big thing for Order of the Blight is if they knock him into his Sleepy Time passive, leave him there and focus the rest of the team. They keep focusing the Sleepy Time passive. They leave 3 members on it when really they could leave 1 member on it, take him out, and send the other 2 forward. I would like to see something done about that if that happens, but I think this hinges on Nikos and Frostbite being able to get a target isolated early in this fight and hopefully get a pick.
Well, we'll have to see how they manage to do it. Who gets chosen for the epic uppercut? But it looks like Order of the Blight, taking it slowly, are not pushing the mid lane at the same time. They're just going to focus in a full-on 5v5 engagement on this left-hand side of the map. Both teams sizing each other up, but Order of the Blight have a lot of time to play with, and it looks like some interest on this right-hand side from Dioi and Otiro, trying to find a quick burst of an opportunity. But I like the positioning coming out from Archies right now. They're staggered in a way that doesn't allow a clear target. You know, they can't just jump in and kill everyone off. They have to pick someone, but no one's really easy to take down. But if you are Order of the Blight, Blaze, how are you making your way into this one?
I think you need to get a ward over that gate. to find out where this nemesis is. And I mean, they have a sentry there, so they're going to take it out anyway. But not knowing where the nemesis is until just now is kind of scary, as that Trep is pushing the right side here, and this is huge for Order of the Blight.
Max already in, left side Phoenix already down. Max Mystic rush on out, and there's just a retreat coming out from Order of the Blight, but there's the epic uppercut coming on to J-Rod Jr., who does get the Whirlwind Rage and steal off. Low health, though, is this Xing Chen. Does get stunned out by Davros, but a Mail Renewal is huge. It looks like Archies are going to try to give chase, but it's hard to close the distance. And on the backside, we have Max still able to come on in. Otiro swinging these axes, firing them off, and the retreat again from Archies now. Have to run back to base, but it's not going to be in time for Nikos. The backline is low for Order of the Blight, but they can still get Frostbite down to the Sleepy Time passive. Very low is Dioi, almost falling down there to a long shot from Seagull, but the Titan already half health. Mex and J-Rod half health as well, but this Trebuchet firing more and more shots. The Titan so low, J-Rod Jr. will fall down, the damage will come out, and the Titan does fall. Order of the Blight take game number 1 against Archies, and it was a bit shaky, took a while, but they do finally put down the enemy Titan.
Yeah, what a massive game by the carries there for the Blight. You know, Mino Kino at 39,000 damage, and you have Otiro right at 41,000. That's a lot of damage between the two carries to be set up there. And shout out to the supports and the frontliners in this game. For both teams played really well setting up their carries and allowing that damage to take place, allowing the isolation of targets, or J-Rod decide, hey, you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to throw them away from my team to help a retreat and then re-engage. Overall, I would say both teams had really, really good frontline play.
Yep, was really strong from both sets of supports, and also the solo laners here. You know, it definitely has to be pointed out that both solo laners going positive is a bit rare, especially when one team loses, you know, relatively badly, especially early on. But Nikos on this Mulan had a strong showing. Same with Mex, though, showed up a bit later on, but definitely did start swinging towards the end of that game. But if you are Archies, Blaze, and you do have to make a slight adjustment, what would you say are the key points? You know, what went wrong in that game that they can tidy up for the next one?
I think maybe so there's some picks and ban changes that they go with, because overall they fought into that team very well once it got mid to late game. It's really just coming down to, how do you deal with this early game? Were the Blight were able to get on early, and that kind of put them at this deficit that made them really have to climb back into the game. I think if they're not having to deal with that, then that should help them. So maybe get rid. I don't know if they want to get rid of the Yu Huang or the Heimdall or the Daji. I think one of those three has to go. If you can get two of them off the board, awesome. But I think Daji Dioi really did a lot early game to put a lot of pressure on Archies. But I will say this, they did recover and slow down Dioi mid to late game. So I think if they can find a way to deal with that early, maybe they don't even need to ban it. They just need to figure out either take it for themselves, or how do we slow that down in the early game?
Well, we will have to see exactly how Archies manage to deal with that. We will be heading to a very short break, but please do not go anywhere, as we will come back soon for game number 2 between Order of the Blight and Archies. And we are back, everybody. Of course, welcome back to Glarious Smite League. This is Order of the Blight versus Archies. It is currently 1-0 in favor of Order of the Blight, who had a very, very clear start to the game. Wavered a little bit come the 30-minute mark, but after that point, managed to tighten up, fight together, and get back into the game. But my name is Judas Priestley. I'm joined today by Blaze McBain. This is, of course, round 3 of So You Think You Can Cast. And Blaze, there's definitely some fight in this Archies lineup, but as we mentioned towards the post-game, what sort of picks and bans are you looking for this time to maybe turn things around a bit?
I mean, I have to say, Archies played really well given the comp they had. We didn't see like a ton of like meta picks there, and I think that's really important to say. Like, I expect maybe we see a Heimdallr ban, which just came up through. Maybe a Daji, but I would personally probably try to take the Daji for myself and set up my jungler with that. It really seemed like Ragnarok wanted to get aggressive. It's just hard to do that as Nemesis really early on unless you pick up a first blood like super early. And then how do you deal with Yu Huang? I think that's the questions you have to lead into here. If you have an answer for those on how you're going to deal with them, then cool. Ban what you think is going to be even more of a problem and just draft what you think is going to be better. Overall, I thought they played really well given the deficit they had early. And the frontline play was really good by the support and their solo. So overall, excited to see how game 2 goes here. And we do see the Khepri ban come through again, or as I like to call him, Khepri Bezos, because, he's making that money. He does so much. He does so much.
Unlike the aforementioned person that Khepri Bezos is named after, he has been punished for it. So
Yes.
going away out of this game is the Khepri. Of course, I don't expect to be seeing that. Heimdall Cupid, totally reasonable as well. It's not great where you have to spend 2 bans on hunters at the moment, because it's just Cupid, right? You want to be banning Cupid, and you probably want to be banning Yu Huang. But other than that, it does leave a lot of junglers on the table. Lancelot, notably, still available, could be getting picked up this time. But as you mentioned, that game plays both supports and both front lines as a whole playing really well. And the Mulan pick in particular coming up from Nikos, I actually really was a big fan of. But do you run that back if it was, the main shining light of your early game?
I think I would expect them to build differently against the Mulan if it came through again. So I don't know if I go through and pick that again. I really like Mulan, and I thought it was played really, really well by Nikos there. But we do see a Lancelot ban come through. You don't want to see that man riding around on a horse in solo or in jungle, so get rid of him. And the Kabrak and Ravana bans here. We're not going to see a Ravana ram back, which is probably good for Archies, as that god can just be absolutely aggravating to play against. And then the good old Flexpick Kabrakan that can be played in, almost any role falls away too. We see the Yu Huang locked in for Archies this time instead of the Merlin. I do like that pick. This is what I talked about. How do you prioritize either banning those picks? Do you pick it for yourself, or do you have a way to play against it? And they say, hey, Yu Huang is what we want. We do see the hover of Ratatasker and a Muzen Cobb here. And a Muzen Cobb has just been absolutely devastating to play against, whether it's in mid or it's in carry. He just does so much. But I am curious about this Ratatasker, as it could be a huge flex pick here for Order of the Blight.
I will say, with a little bit of player knowledge coming out here, before Ratatasker solo was even extremely popular, Mex was playing it. Now, that is not to say that it will be coming out here. It could be in the jungle, of course, like you mentioned. It's a bit of a flex pick. Personally, I would say I prefer it in the solo lane. It is just an obnoxious pick, right? It can cause so much havoc, so much healing, really tough to deal with. But someone who would have dealt with it quite well in the last game is that Mulan, especially with that Tainted Steel build. So, Ratatasker solo may not be quite the cleanest pick as it was previously, as we have seen, a lot of play against it come through. Maybe got like a Naja coming through. But something that was focused banned out in the previous game was Ragnarok's Loki. But this time, we're going to really get to see what it's made of.
Yeah, we see Budget King Arthur locked in along with Loki. And I'm curious about this Ratatasker, because I think the way Mex played game 1 leads me to believe that Ratatasker is a huge pick here, because that rotation over to mid and just cause absolute havoc is huge. But when I see Budget King Arthur Loki, I don't know if I want to be playing Ratatasker in solo. I just think that's going to be a problem. So we'll kind of see where this goes. I'm expecting Order of the Blight to hold their solo pick here, or jungle. They end up locking Freya, unless it's Freya jungle. We've seen that in the past. I don't expect to see that today. I do like this pick. Freya is still fairly good, brings a lot of damage, and she does sort of have a little bit of an early game now than she did before. Yep. So I think Freya's a good pick to go along with this Muzen Cobb and the Ratatasker. But I'm curious of the bans coming through now.
It will be quite pivotal, It does have to really lock it down for Archies. Of course, you're already down 1-0. You don't want to be falling down 2-0 in your first game of the season. All right, it's a draft league. You might be sort of adjusting to each other, but you still want to get off to a good start, even if it's a 2-1 loss, right? So much better than a 2-0 loss. But we'll have to see what they do manage to pull together. We do see that Xingqian ripped off the table, this time by Order of the Blight, so they're not opting to pick it yet again. And I think, again, we're seeing Archie's dual lane being left till last. Why do you think that might be, Blaze? Do you think that's they want to have the most comfort there, or do they just not really care? What would be your thinking of it if you were the Archies team here?
So I'm a huge advocate of dual lane pressure being super important in the current meta. I think if you have a dual lane that can secure the Nagas and the Harpies early on, and then start invading purples, that causes a lot of problems for the enemy jungler, and it causes problems for the enemy mid laner, because that support's gonna be able to rotate early. And I like holding it so you can kind of counterpick and kind of decide what you want to do. Little surprised to see Order of the Blight get rid of the Xingqian, and now the X-Ball I'm not surprised about. Again, turning out the lights is very important in any team fight. And the Poseidon ban, I'm curious. I have so many questions on why that came through, but that's okay. I think that's completely fine. You never know. Again, Poseidon jungle, pretty good. So if this isn't Rat jungle, I mean, it's a good reason to get rid of it. But again, I do like them holding this duo lane pick. I like going for aggressive duo lanes that can farm up early and try to start snowballing early on and causing havoc.
And of course, a god that does a very good job of snowballing early is Muzen Cobb. Puts out a lot of consistent damage. Basically known as the mage killer, right? And with Yu Huang being a very, very safe mid lane pick, probably the only god they're not safe into is Muzen Cobb. That Stinger causing a cripple, rips off that Celestial Flight, which you're relying on that, right? Yu Huang's damage. All right, it does have a little bit of CC. When you channel that Dow, drop a root on the ground, does help you out a little bit. But especially if it could be a Ratatasker jungle, they just dart on right through. They do not care about your roots. They can just pile on top of you. Even if it is a Ratatasker in the solo lane, they can make this rotation onto the Yu Huang. Perfect setup for the Stinger from Muzen Cobb. So I think dealing with Yu Huang is definitely a good way to prioritize. There was a double Muzen Cobb pick there for a moment. That would have been fantastic for taking out Yu Huang. I'd say that's a really good way to counter a Yu Huang pick. But Guan Yu actually coming through. Now, Blaze, I want to question you about this pick because Guan Yu sort of trickling their way back into the meta. We've seen, a little bit of Guan Yu, not a lot for quite some time. But what do you think of this god in the current state?
I think he can bring a lot to a team fight. I think he has a lot of healing. There's a question of, do you build Fey Blessed Hoops with him? There's also the question of, like, Mana Core Spikes is still very good. There's a lot of things that go with this Guan Yu, and if you feel like it fits in your comp, I think that's great. The great thing about this is you still have no idea, is he going jungle or is he going solo? I'm assuming he's going solo, the Ratasker's going jungle, but, who knows? We'll have to find that out once we get into the game. I do like the pick either which way this goes. We do see Geb and Artemis locked in here. Geb, just given that CC immunity and shield, can be absolutely frustrating to play against. And Artemis is not bad. I mean, she brings a lot to a team fight. That Tusky is going to tear through a team fight if given the opportunity. I'm just curious on what the build is going to be for this Artemis. If you go that Malicious Deathbringer route, Artemis gets real scary really fast with traps. I expect that to be online at some point in the game. But the Ganesha is the last pick here. And, I have nothing wrong with seeing the old elephant and the Dharmic pillars in any game. He is going to be able to silence out a lot of what any of these characters want to do. And, he creates a zone of just, hey, put all your damage here, and we kind of just win. And if you have an Amusin Freya on your team, that feels pretty good.
Well, having addressed the elephant in the room, Blaze, I'm going to now ask you to take a look at both drafts. Let's cover up the names, cover up all the players, and just say, if this is a straight up, you don't know anything about either team, which draft are you going to hedge your bets with?
I'm like an Archies draft this time. I really am. I like the fact there's Yu Huang, Geb, Artemis, Loki, and Kukulane. I don't know if I'd ever thought I'd say I'd like the Loki draft, but I look at the targets that he has to go in and execute on. I mean, you have a Rattasker, a Muzikov, and Freya, and if he's able to catch any of those without beads or the Freya without ult, I mean, he's taking them out instantly. So overall, I like what Archies are bringing to the table. That's not to take anything away with Order of the Blight. I think Guan Yu Ganesha is very strong with this Muzikov Freya. I think both comps, honestly, are really good. I really think this hinges on how the Loki's played.
Well, we have obviously been informed that the Loki play could be fantastic, and Loki does really well, like you mentioned, into our Muzikab and Freya in particular. Both gods that, if they get time in a team fight, can shred through a team. Either one of those gods, if left to free cast, will take out an entire team. But Loki does a great job of isolating someone, and if not taking them out, getting them extremely low that they'll probably have to leave the fight anyway. So I'm a big fan of Loki when it's played well. Now, there is still a few counter-pick options for Order of the Blight into this Loki. Of course, bees, just give your position away. They just completely ruin everything you want to do. Same with the Ohm coming out from J-Rod Jr. This Ganesh will actually silence you out and will stop your invisibility. But now, we are getting in to game number 2 between Archies and Order of the Blight. Of course, this time, Archies on the Order side and Order of the Blight, now the Chaos of the Blight, as they pick up the Chaos side of the map. Looks like, Blaze, both sides will be going for the same red to speed start again, but this time with an Amusin Carb versus a Yu Huang. Do you agree with both sides doing it?
I think so. I think if you're AMC, you want that solo farm as soon as possible. And I'm excited for this Guan Yu jungle. I really want to see how this pans out for Dioi. Really got aggressive early last game. I think this could bring a lot to the team fight depending on how it's played here. We do see the Bumbas is what's going to be picked up early. And across the board, there's a bunch of different build diversity this game just because of the gods being played in the roles that they're in. But I will say this, there are, 3 sets of beads on both sides, and I expect those to be getting burned quite often.
Of course, plenty of beads pressure from both sides. Now in this dual lane, of course, I don't expect to see too much action going down with Freya and Artemis both being gods that you want to really show up later on with, but an early level 2 from Order of the Blight means that Frostbite gets forced way down to half health already. But is there a real clear pressure point this time? Do you expect to see a similar slow farming style for the first 5 minutes, or will we see some fireworks this time?
I expect we might see fireworks in solo, as we've already had to see Dioi rotate over there for this Ratatasker that's gonna have a hard time early on against Kukulane until you get that Acorn online. But I do think Otirio, if given the opportunity to play aggressive on this Freya, about 2 or 3 items in, could become very scary for this Artemis if caught off guard.
Was an Artemis with no Caledonian boar available. It's a bit of a sitting duck, so it does have to be very careful on your positioning. As Seagull getting very, very low, taking some pressure from that Salo Assault from Dioi coming through, and providing peel there is Ragnarok on the Loki. Not something you see in your casual games, that's for sure. But Nico's under some pressure from Mex here. I think Ratatasker's weakest stage is in this early phase, but if Archies can't punish it, then Mex on this Ratatasker are going to have a great time.
Yeah, you're wanting to punish this Ratatasker within the first 5 levels, if possible, or else you rotate over and there's a possible he just goes through the Cosmos and says, see you later, bye. And that's not a good feeling. Or he says, see you later, and re-engages and, drops in on your head. One of the two. But we do see Ragnarok making this rotation over to the solo lane, maybe looking to try to pick something up here. But Dio's holding out over here as well. But Frostbite is in trouble.
No. Frostbite being blocked off. There's an Ohm coming through, but the basic attacks run out from Otiro. No pulse left on the clock. And that means that Frostbite does live on for just a little bit longer. That was getting a bit dicey, and you certainly don't want to give an early kill up to Freya, because if there's a god that can punish you with an early kill, damn right it's Freya.
Yeah, if Freya gets an early kill, especially the First Blood Gold, you're in for a not fun time. As someone that plays a lot of ADC and has played Freya, or played against Freya recently, yeah, I'd rather not. But both teams are going to go for their purple buff here, secure those so they don't get taken away. And now we're just back to Farming Simulator a little bit, which is to be expected. I will say, I do like that Frostbite held the hog until the second purple, just to make sure that if it did get invaded, was able to secure it just in case. I'm a huge fan of that as an ADC player. If my support is able to hold that, and just has to feel pretty good.
Yeah, it's of course that little bit of extra safety net. You don't need it early on, especially into a lane like Freya and Ganesh. Ganesh, of course, a little bit of a slow starter, so it certainly can't have much of an impact in the lane until they have hit that 3rd level. But of course, purple buff comes up the second time just at about that stage, so you're not really too rushed and under too much pressure early on. But looks like an early rotation to the middle lane coming up from Frostbite, with J-Rod Jr. hanging around trying to work out if there's a play opportunity. But with dual lane being as it is at the moment, I think this early rotation just favors Archies.
Yeah, getting any type of solo farm early for your carry is going to feel pretty good. I do agree that, if J-Rod was, level 5, sure, hang around, look for that Dharmic Pillars and try to get the pick on the Artemis. Unfortunately, that's not the case at level 4 here. But now Frostbite is in a very strange position for this engagement.
Drop the rollout. J-Rod Jr. spots it out. Dio goes into that cavalry charge. Just Gab under a lot of pressure. Misses the stun, though. And now coming back from the backside is Ragnarok. Minokino under a lot of pressure. A nice Ohm there to stop all that channel damage. But there's Otiro now, making a long rotation all the way over. Davros maybe look catch them, but will not commit too heavily, will either side. And both teams there getting into a bit of a scrap, but nothing just yet going the way of either team.
Yeah, I would say the butterflies that started off game 1 are not here during game 2. Both teams wanting to get aggressive and look for fights early here. And I think that's, a nice change to see. Again, teams are still working out how they play with each other. When it's a draft league, you're still getting used to some of the mechanics of other players, how they play. And to see them be a lot more comfortable going into the second game, I think is huge. And Frostbite wasn't level 5 there. I think if Frostbite's level 5, we're talking about Archies getting some kills, as that board does come out along with the Freya ultimate here, trying to fly away. Just a nice trade of ultimates here, back to farming in the duo lane.
Of course, has to be quick on the trigger there. Was Otiro up into that Valkyrie's discretion, because you don't want to have to burn the purification beads also. That stun's just a little bit too long now. Mex under a lot of pressure, and speaking of pressure, here it comes from the rest of the team. Ragnarok on this Loki picking up a clean kill. That's First Blood going the way of Loki onto this Ratatasker that we said had to be punished early. Not really sure what happened there, Blaze.
I mean, looks like, just stepped up in this Kook lane thinking, hey, I could take, a good bit of damage here. I can take this fight. Doesn't have any wards up on that side of the map and just gets absolutely rotated on. Archies just took, early aggression. Frostbite said, yeah, I'll rotate over to with you too. Let's shut it down. I have an ultimate if I need to. And now we have Dio over here in this left-hand side doing a ton of damage to Davros.
Davros burns the beads. Of course, no Caledonian Boar available. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, trying to get a counter pick. Archies, but they don't quite find enough damage on Amino Kino, who will buzz on out of there. But Mex now getting CC chain to Oblivion and will fall down to Seagull. If they can't take the mid lane, I'm sure you'll take the solo laner. And this Ratatasker falls down a second time already.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Mex is going to have to be able to get over there and get some farm, as this Kook lane almost already has the tier 1 tower at 7 minutes into the game. And along with that, we have to worry about Artemis now, as the beads was used there right before the death. So that's going to feel pretty bad.
Yeah, of course, having the ult down and the beads down. Now, all right, ult is back up for Davros, but when those purification beads are off, not only does it mean you're a little bit of a target, because, you just have to get through the ultimate, but for Otiro and this Freya, it means you will not aggress on me. Because if you do, Dio is going to show up again and take you down. And it just means that Artemis has to play a bit more passively, can't really step up past the halfway point of the lane. And even then, one good banish from Otiro could spell the life of Davros. But Otiro stepped up just a touch. Frostbite is here too, does get whooped on out though. And that should be the end of this aggression. But I don't know, if you're Archies right now, you're probably quite happy with how this game has started, but do you want to slow the pace down, or do you want to start getting Ragnarok involved more and bringing the pace up?
I mean, we're talking about, a 1,600 gold lead at this point in favor of Archies. I think you're looking to say, hey, when's the point that we can pull Gold Fury? Can we get a pick and lead to Gold Fury at 10 minutes? If so, how do we make that happen? Who are we picking, and, how are we going to set this up? Really and truly, I think that's what has to happen. But now Ragnarok is on the way for Otiro.
Otiro now gets aggressive, but might be in a bit of trouble with Davros. Can they find the last shot? No, they cannot. Otiro does not have enough damage. Now find themselves alone with a Loki. The minions will do well to cover for this Freya, but that's a lot of damage coming out. And hold on, Dioi spots Davros stepping up just a touch. Nitro shield to keep their ADC safe. Now Dioi gets locked down, chain CC'd. Will just about stay alive by virtue of those dynamic pillars, but now Minokino on the long rotation from the middle lane spots out Frostbite, who will be sacrificed for this. It's taking a while to go down. Davros still on a bad angle, but Seagull now shows up for Dioi. Davros will get caught by the rest of the team, but there's a dueling dragons on Tamino Kino, who may have overstayed their welcome. By the way, that's Nikos from the solo lane showing up to take down Mino Kino, and this has been a great fight for Archies, who only drop 1 kill in the process.
Hey, remember that Gold Fury? I think now's the time you pull it. I think that you just got a massive fight over on the duo side where everyone rotates, and here comes the Gold Fury pull by Archies. The only one they have to worry about is Otiro here, and you don't have to worry about the Valkyrie's assault this time because it's not up. You just need someone over there to focus out Otiro and not let the free cast happen. This is a scary time for Archies. Someone has to zone out this Freya. They are able to secure it.
They do take control of the area. They do take the gold here. Otiro's looking for it, right? But those basic attacks from Freya really don't do a ton of damage to objectives at the moment. We're talking like less than 100 damage, right? To steal that away. But, keeps it exciting for the cast, I suppose. It does have to keep everyone on their toes just a touch. But this is a good test of Archies now. They came into this game having lost out, not particularly badly overall, but they had a really rough early game previously. This time, a 3k gold lead at 10 minutes is fantastic for a start. And, this is really before we're seeing this Loki come online.
Yeah, this is a drastic difference with this comp, and really they are putting a lot of pressure everywhere on the map. I mean, to be able to rotate from solo all the way over to duo, not lose your tower, pick up kills, and get a Gold Fury, that's absolutely huge. And we do see, the Mana Core spikes are being worked on. I stressed this a little bit last game. I'm going to stress it again. Mana Core spikes are OP. I expect we're going to see it both for Frostbite. We're going to see it for Nikos, and, I think last game they also built Magi's. One of them got Revenge, one of them got Shelter, and that did a lot of work for them in some team fights. So I expect to see some similarities here on those builds as they are getting aggressive and looking to protect their carries.
Well, gotta protect the backline as best they can. But I do wonder how Order of the Blight are going to deal with the dive coming out from Ragnarok. Because now we're already seeing, Kino getting aggressive. And just look at that. That's a really low commitment. But the Dueling Dragons might finish it off and will not find the last bit of damage. Dioi comes in with that Sallow Assault just to frighten away Archies from committing any further. But very low commitment there onto Mino Kino. It was just the Dueling Dragons to possibly finish off the kill. But Ragnarok can do that absolutely whenever they want. And, this Amazon Carb going to come under even more pressure as this game goes on.
And Ragnarok could have ulted, decided not to. I mean, that's what's wild about that. Like, you just throw, okay, I'm going to throw my combo out and just do damage. And that's what's allowed to happen is now Mex is under pressure here. And Mex is running into Archies. I don't know if knowingly or not, but through the Cosmos is going to have to come out.
It's a big ultimate off the map, of course, pretty much for free, right? Again, not a lot of commitment, but now that is a big commitment from Mex onto Seagull. We'll put out a lot of damage in response onto Mino Kino as Frostbite can keep them safe, but Seagull has to retreat for the net. Dioi on the backside, Seagull not paying attention, gets swept on through, but now Ragnarok encounters the enemy jungler in their jungle, but there's a Shifter's Shield on the side of Dioi, might turn the tide of this fight just a touch. Nice assassinate, though, onto Dioi to avoid the last hit from that cavalry charge, but Dioi is still sticking around because there's backup coming, but Nikos is also the backup from the enemy side. There's the knockup coming through. Dioi low health will come on to Davros in just a moment, but Dioi might actually get on out of this. Nikos trying to find the last little bits of damage. Frostbite rolling through, has no mana though for anything else, and Nikos can't close the distance. Dioi will walk away safely. Never mind, Nikos does find the slam down after all of that.
I was gonna be like, he has the get out of jail free card game too as well. What the heck? He's at the speed buff and gets to walk that far away. Ends up falling down. We do have to talk about Otiro did pick up a solo kill over there on the duo side against Davros, and that's when things start to get scary. We see this Hecate and Hastens as Ragnarok goes in here.
Already onto Mino Kino yet again. Now, a lot of that damage was actually silenced out from J-Rod Jr. Didn't matter, though. Still, Mino Kino takes way too much damage and has to retreat on out. Like I said, cannot step up on this Amazon card. But, all right, a kill does go the way of Otiro on this Freya. It's obviously still not great, but it could have been worse. If this happened earlier on, it would have been much more difficult for Davros on this Artemis to come back, but no, already has the Transcendence fully stacked, has the Poison Steel Shuriken online, and do you think that's a situation to be in as Artemis where you're ready to start getting involved in the fight?
I think this is a scary time if you're playing Artemis and you have Shadow Steel Shuriken and you have no other crit online yet. I can say this as someone that has done it. It does not feel particularly good. You want that anti-heal? Absolutely. You see that you have the Freya with the Kate. She's probably going to build something else later on, like a Nimble Bancroft. You see the Guan Yu. And you're looking at some of these other picks, and you're like, okay, anti-heal is going to feel pretty good. But this is conditional anti-heal. You have to get a crit in order for it to proc, which means you need more crit. And we see the Light Babe being built right now.
Yeah, well, they will be building more and more into that, of course. I've never personally been a fan of it because it's so conditional, right? It's especially, like you say, early on with not a lot of crit online. But, I mean, if you are going to take down this Freya, you do need to be hitting some big crits. So I can understand it from that point of view. It looks like Max comes all the way over to mid lane through the Cosmos, so something was forced out there. And, if right now, in the solo lane, all very one-sided in favor of Archies.
Yeah, Nikos has been allowed to just absolutely play the game however Nikos wants. And that's a scary time when you're Order of the Blight, because Cuckoo Lane getting to walk around and do whatever is, not fun for anybody. Whether you're the mid jungle at ADC, as we saw earlier, that's just going to get more and more scary as the game goes on.
That's an Assassinate traded out for Purification Beads, but Ragnarok has to retreat. They're very, very high up on the map, are Archies, but Seagull has also made the rotation over, so looking to push the advantage and leave the dual lane on a bit of an island. Maybe not the best call, as there's quite a bit of a level disparity coming out between the two Hunter players, but, I mean, that's the option, and J-Rod Jr. comes under a touch of pressure as well, but mid lane tier 1 going to be killed off by Mino Kino. It looks like Ragnarok, can you finally find this kill onto the Amuzin Carb? No Assassinate available. Big slow coming out. Davros, surely this Amuzin Carb dies.
Yeah. And guess what's up? The Primal Fury. This is, again, going to go in Archie's favor. They're not going to be able to make it over here fast enough. Otiro is the only one that could possibly do it. And Otiro said, nah, I'm just going to get red buff. I don't want to go wherever's happening over at the Primal Fury. And again, this is another Gold Fury that falls down after a pick by Archies here. Archies playing this very well, about 3,000 gold. Well, 2,000 now at the Pyro Falls. 2,000 gold ahead, so not a massive gold lead. But things have been going their way when it comes to the team fights. And they do have, you know, a tower down in solo, whereas Order of the Blight have the tower down in mid. So a little bit different as they go and now pick up the tower in mid. Overall, I think Archies are playing this a lot better. They seem a lot more comfortable this game, and I expect them to keep their foot on the pedal.
Well, I do want to bring attention, Blaze, to, you know, we're about 17 minutes in, and we've seen Guan Yu jungle for, you know, one of the first times this season. What's been your impression of it so far?
So far, I think it's done okay. I expect this to get better as the game goes on. I think he does better once we have better itemization. He feels a little bit better once you can do that team fight healing. You can run into a team fight with the horse and really be a distraction. Overall, I expect this to only get better as time goes on. As Otiro just shreds down Frostbite there. Holy. So I don't think we've seen the best part of Dioi on this Guan Yu. I think it's only going to get better as time goes.
Oh, we will keep an eye on it, of course, to see how this progresses. Now, kind of being overshadowed by Ragnarok's Loki, especially in the farm difference there, the 3-level lead for the Loki. But that's sort of how it's supposed to go, right? Especially when you pick this style of jungler. But hold on, Otiro, no purification beats up. Does have the Valkyrie's discretion, though. And there's Dioi on scene to provide a bit of extra peel with that cavalry charge. Going in, though, is Ragnarok with that assassinate. But Otiro still swinging, still finding the shots, and does find the damage to take down this Loki. Now, Dioi forced into the purification beads. Transgressor's fate will not catch them, though. And they will be able to get on out of there. And, you know, we're sort of seeing the momentum shift in favor of Order of the Blight.
Yeah, that's a huge play to Dioi there to be able to get Ragnarok off the map, but also make sure Otiro doesn't fall in a 1v2. This is going to be great. Davros is a little bit behind still. They're really putting pressure over here in this solo lane, and by pressure, I mean they're leaving Otiro on an island against Davros, and that's panned out really well for Order of the Blight. Archies have decided to put that pressure elsewhere, and it hasn't paid off as much. They're going to have to get this Artemis into the game because right now it's a 3-level disparity, and that is just going to feel worse as time goes on. If this Freya is able to rotate to a team fight, she's going to shred. And that's going to be a scary, scary time for Archies.
Oh, Max trying to find a quick pick onto Seagull, who's trying to do whatever they can, but through the Cosmos comes Max and Minokinos in the mid lane. Seagull, what do you have left in the tank? You do have that Celestial Flight, and Max maybe overcommitted there, stuck around a touch too long and got baited in. Meanwhile, Otiro finally falls down, and I was just ready to talk about how much Otiro likes this Freya, so they put 3 rings on it, but no, it looks like this Freya finally falls down again in this game, and Archies now quickly find 2 picks, and suddenly momentum shifts back their way.
Hey, this is a great job by Frostbite here to rotate over and make sure that Davros gets to live and also pick up the kill. Great job. That's what they need to have happen for Archies. They've been doing well everywhere else on the map. That side's been a little bit of a struggle just because it's a Freya, and Davros has played really well into it thus far. Now you pick up that kill, it's going to, you know, even out that level disparity a little bit. We already see it's only a level difference now. I expect it to almost be even by the time Freya's back up. And overall, this is what Archies needed to happen. They have a 4,000 gold lead, and if they get another pick like that, we're talking to like, hey, they can start looking for a Fire Giant dance here in the next 5 minutes.
I do see just now Davros returning back to base, might be coming back to join in with these fights. You know, we've seen a lot of fighting over in that duo lane, but not a full concerted team fight just yet. There's always been a couple of members missing from either side, but with the scrappiness that this game's had, especially in the jungle, you know, are you saying, oh sorry, would you say that this favors Archie's draft to be scrapping in these small skirmishes in the jungle?
I think so. I mean, I think if you can try to keep Order of the Blight as separated as possible, especially in these outnumbered fights, it has to be an advantage to you. But now Ragnarok makes that rotation over to Arterio and may pay the price.
Yeah, getting counter-rotated on by Dioi with the cavalry charge, swinging enough slashes down. Will finish off Ragnarok with that broom, of course. And, I mean, it's tough for Ragnarok. Like, you have to go for that. You have to try to make that play as Seagull floats on over that cripple, but doesn't matter because that's a very nice dueling dragons in response. Now Seagull under tower gets dove by Max. Purification beats in response, but there's a knockup from Nico's Dynamic Pillars not on the mark. Good Earth Shield as well to keep the mid laner alive, and it looks like they won't commit any further on, but Davros has made the rotation over. Pyromancer's being solo killed by Minokino. It's taking a long time though, and Archie's on their way over to it. I think Order of the Blight is struggling to confirm these kills.
Yeah, Minokino's in trouble against the Pyromancer. Luckily, the rest of the team shows up to help out because I'm not sure that was going to go in favor of the Musenkob there. But the one thing to kind of touch on here is the lack of wards there on that left side of the map, where they had no idea Dioi was rotating over when Ragnarok made that initial fight because there wasn't wards to pick him up. So I think that's one thing you have to be concerned about. You have to start being like, hey, we need the wards down. We have to know where Dioi's at and the rest of this team. This Loki wants to be able to go into an outnumbered fight or look for a chance to be able to, a massive C comes out for Geb and then boom, you blow him up with the assassinate. You need something like that to come through. That's the setup you want on this Loki. You want isolated targets, or in the team fight, you want strongly CC'd targets or someone that's isolated in the back you can go in on. And right now that hasn't happened. We haven't seen the 5v5 team fight breakout, and they've been doing a really good job controlling Ragnarok at this point for Order of the Blight.
Of course, Order of the Blight have been down in gold and experienced most of this game, but it's always been slight. You know, I think at most it got to about 3k. But other than that, Order of Blight fighting back into picking up another Pyromancer. Of course, previously traded Gold Fury for Pyro, but this time take the Pyromancer cleanly, and now this Gold Fury play is what's going to be on the mind of both teams. In fact, J-Rod Jr. steps up to place some wards, but might find themselves in a little bit of danger, getting focused out yet again. Very low health, pops the Magic Shell and the Dynamic Pillars, but it's not enough because Nikos is on a rampage on this Kokulin, and now Archie's set up yet again to take Gold Fury.
Yeah, 5-0-3 here for the Kukulane. That has to feel very good. You're really just being able to run the game right now, and again, when you have this type of a
Fire Giant
lead, it has to feel good. Yeah, Fire Giant has to be on the table. They got the pick. I think they're going to look for one more. I think they're setting up Fire. I don't expect them to pull it. They're trying to quarter camp here. Oh, are they going to get Ortiro? The blink in? They might.
They're going to chase down this Freya. It's a full-on commit. There's the Valkyrie's discretion, though. Freya, of course, not the easiest god to dive, and it brings in the rest of the enemy team. But the big Dueling Dragons does not quite finish off Otiro because of the Aegis Amulet. But they look for an opportunity. They were trying to hide around the corner. That might have worked, but Nikos there sort of shot the trigger a little bit early and went all the way forward with the blink. But Fire Giant still on the table for Archies. They've, of course, chased away Order of the Blight. Order of the Blight not giving this one up easily, making the rotation all the way over. What is the commitment like from Archies? They dropped the Fire Giant already at half health, and now Dioi seems to be the target, but dashing all the way through. The Assassinate comes onto Minokino, who does Purification, beats that one away. Nikos walking back forward, has returned to the scene. A lot of low health members for Order of the Blight. They clearly don't want this fight, but they are showing face to prevent an easy take of this Fire Giant. I think Archies are playing the right strategy, though, because they're forcing their effort forward, and there's Frostbite blinking forward with a Catechism. J-Rod Jr. falls down yet again, and Otiro gets knocked out of the sky as there comes through the Cosmos mechs jumping forward. This very extended engagement continues on, but it looks like Archies can't find any more picks just yet.
I mean, Archies are playing this very well, and Dioi trying to go into the back here, but they've been very much just making this space for their carries to play in. And really good play here by Frostbite and by Nikos to kind of zone everybody out and just allow the carries to free cast. We've seen this the whole entire time now, as their health bars are getting on the lower side, but Order of the Blight aren't much more healthy.
Well, Order of the Blight might feel confident enough to step forward now with the cavalry charge from Dioi. There's a big lift onto Frostbite. Nikos, though, trying to zone away, but can't zone away enough and gets shut down. The sustain coming out from Dioi on this Guan Yu suddenly starting to pay off. They don't get the Fire Giant. They do lose a couple extra picks. Archie's got to feel good, but not that good, Blaze, as it's not going to be an easy take at this next Fire Giant.
Look, I agree. I do like the ward coverage they have on the right side of the map. I think that's going to be pay off in tons because you can see all the way back to their back camps by speed buff. That has to feel pretty good if you're Archies, but I expect Order of the Blights looking to make an aggressive play here towards this Fire Giant, and now they're going to be the ones saying, hey, you have to come in and fight us at the Fire Giant pit, and this could pay off huge for them if they're able to get a pick like Seagull here.
Seagull, of course, hasn't backed yet. Very, very low health. Goes up into the Celestial Flight. Mech's just waiting for the landing. There's Minokino as well to clean that one up. Ragnarok gets the Assassinate onto Minokino, who will just take it. But now Dioi dives into the tower with a cavalry charge. Gets caught by the Caledonian Boar instead. Nice double Cataclysm coming out from Frostbite, providing a lot of CC. But now Otiro starting to shoot off those tennis balls, but does get locked down. And Ragnarok will take another kill. And now, Order of the Blight on the retreat, having been the aggressors. Nikos is on the way slowly. They might not make it to this fight in time, but Ragnarok dashes forward, gets stunned out though perfectly. Minokino with the Stinger gets the cripple, but put the trap down onto the Stinger. Means Minokino gets caught, but now Davros faced up against Mex, but Nikos on scene will mean that Order of the Blight don't want to engage any further on. These fights are so chaotic, Blaze, and no one really coming out on top.
Yeah, I mean, like, Dio thought he was going to be able to go in and get a kill there, and then just gets out Catalan board, Tusky to the face, and Mex has been able to try to dive in. J-Rod's been making huge plays on this Ganesh. These fights are insane. As Through the
Davros
Cosmos
getting
comes
multiple
out.
shields coming out from Frostbite. There's Through the Cosmos on top, but doesn't connect. Minokino blown up by Nikos, who's not happy about dying. And now Max trying to dive onto Davros. Very low health. Is this Artemis still alive, though? But Ganesh will clean that one up and give the kill to Max. There's a double kill for Nikos. It's just J-Rod Jr. left on scene. The blink forward from Frostbite locks down into the Dharmic Pillars, but now Nikos can't progress any further as Dioi respawns from a long time ago death, and still the Fire Giant remains standing.
I don't know if anybody wins in the past 2 minutes. Like, it's just been an absolute
Everybody loses.
An arena brawl. Where, you know, someone's getting baited in, they get a kill, then off of that, another person gets a kill on the opposite side. And it's great to watch. It's been awesome. But at some point, you have to ask yourself, how can we set this up to where we win the fight and we can pull this Fire Giant? And I think for both teams, you have to ask yourself, who are we looking to pick? How do we avoid getting baited into this Chaldean Boar? How do we avoid getting baited into thinking, hey, I can kill the carry, but then get silenced out by Ganesha? It comes down to how are they going to communicate and who are they going to look for in these 5v5s around this Fire Giant?
Well, that is a big question, of course. Who is the main target for each of these teams? It's been back and forth, right? Otiro can't be allowed to free cast, but when it's been Minokino left alive, this B just putting out so much damage and still has a lot of burst in the back pocket. You know, that Stinger is hitting very, very hard, and Order of the Blight is doing a good job of giving them time to set up. But right now, Junior stepped a touch too far forward, and the aggression comes in. But a nice omen of Frostbite means Frostbite takes way too much damage to start this fight. The Dharmic Pillars come through, and it will be enough to keep Frostbite alive for just a bit of time. Nikos, again on a killing spree, takes down the Amuzin Cab. Now Otiro being dove down by Ragnarok. Nikos still wreaking havoc, and the backline is gone for Order of the Blight. Along with their support, they will have to retreat on out. Now, they don't have the tanky Geb on the side of Archies, but they do have the rest of the team with enough damage to take down this Fire Giant. It's still 30 seconds until it's enhanced, so delaying this Fire Giant maybe not the best play for Order of the Blight, but Max blinks forward. Nice stun onto Davros, who has the Aegis Amulet out. Fire Giant still low health, though. They will hold on to it. They will try to take it down, and they do manage to secure it. Can they take the fight just on afterwards, though? Because Mex gets a stun at a Ragnarok. Dashing forward is Dior. Ragnarok, low health, will retreat. Will Order of the Blight. They try to stall out this Fire Giant. Not quite enough, though. And Archies finally take the first Fire Giant of the game 30 minutes in.
I mean, it's about 5 minutes later than I thought it was going to be, but again, these fights have been crazy. Nikos just absolutely plays that perfectly. The Dharmic Pillars by J-Rod shredded the Gep. They were just so well placed. They allowed so much damage to come out. It allowed his whole entire team to do what needed to be done, get the picks they needed, take people, the tanks off the map, and now you're going to see them take out these towers. They're probably going to get a Gold Fear at some point. I'd like to see them go ahead and push left side down. I think that's the plan. And we have to talk about the amount of damage that Archies is putting out with having 3 of the top 5 top player damage. This Artemis is now online. We see the only crit item being this Shadow Steel Shuriken. Don't know how I feel about that still. I think that's just a little bit strange. I'm wondering if that's going to get sold later on. The anti-heal is good, but again, it's conditional anti-heal, but it seems to be paying off. So that is good. Overall, we should see a lot of towers fall here and maybe a Phoenix Siege, but overall, I expect all the tier 2s to be gone.
Has to be pointed out, there's still a lot of towers on the map, and Order of the Blight recognize that too, because there's 2 of them pushed up to this tier 2 on the right hand side, but hold on, they have to defend this Phoenix. Now the trebuchet there is perfect for blocking too many shots onto this Phoenix. Dioi is still here trying to defend, takes a lot of damage, but a good stun with the cavalry charge, and Frostbite low health rolls on out of the Dynamic Pillars, gets slammed on down by Mex though, and now Ragnarok being chased down. This Ratatasker finally having a moment to get some aggression in, and Davros falls down too. All of a sudden Archies have overstepped the mark just a touch. Double whoop coming out from Otiro will seal the fate of Seagull, but Nico's trying to get a counter pick in response, but it will not be enough. This Cucullin locked down, slowed down. Minokino with the triple kill and a killing spree means that all of a sudden all of Archie's advantage has been wiped away.
Yeah, last time they were able to avoid the Dharmic Pillars, did a lot of damage, but they were able to fight around it eventually. This time not the case, as Ragnarok does take Mex off the map. But now you have this huge push going down the left side of the map by Order of the Blight, a swing in their favor after being down by such a gold deficit after that tier 2 fell. Now you see them at 5,000 down. They're looking to push a Phoenix if possible. I'm not sure Ragnarok is going to be able to defend by himself. The good news, he only has to defend by himself for about 10 seconds, and then you'll have Davros and Seagull there. But instead, Order of the Blight noticed this and say, hey, we do need to back off.
Of course, this Loki capable of shredding through absolutely anyone. And Diori, not full health, certainly has to be careful. This Assassinate is online. Frostbite blinks for, does not connect with the Cataclysm, though. And that might have to just spell the end of this aggression. But that was danger for Diori. Certainly don't want to be getting picked off at this stage. And you see them all retreating as a group. Nobody backing just yet. But there's J-Rod getting assassinated onto, just to see if there's any sort of reaction. Of course, this is the only person with Fire Giant on the map is Ragnarok. So does still do a reasonably high amount of damage, but Fire Giant buff leaving soon. Archies get the Fire Giant, get a couple of towers, but really didn't manage to do enough with it.
No, they didn't. But I do like the play there by Ragnarok and Frostbite to kind of delay the backs of Order of the Blight so they can go ahead and pick up this Pyromancer. They can go ahead and set up wards around the Fire Giant. It really gives them the opportunity to set up how they want to play this next engagement, and I think that was really smart. And a lot of times what ends up happening there is you see the overcommit. We did not see that this time. They played it very smart and are able to now set up what they want to do next. But look at this. Order of the Blight are going to play aggressive into this. And now Frostbite's going in against J-Rod, which has not paid off the past couple times.
Fire Giant's not even here yet, of course, so what are these guys fighting over? Nothing. They just want to fight a touch. But, you know, both teams recognizing this situation will back off. There's still, like I said, about 30 seconds until Fire Giant is available, so J-Rod Jr. safe to back on out. But as we finally manage to hit full build across the board, Blaze, are you noticing anything that we should be paying attention to before this final big fight?
I mean, we see J-Rod now at the Magi Shelter online. If a teammate is near him and he catches a CC, they're going to get a bubble. And I think that's pretty important with the way these engagements have been going, with the amount of CC coming out from the Chaldean Boar, from the Cataclysm. I mean, you name it. And really, how do you escape Nikos is the question for the Blight. You need to try to, A, isolate him to where you can kill him, but B, avoid him so you can kill the rest of the team. He has not been allowing that to happen. He's been getting up in everyone's faces that he can and said, hey, look at me, look at me. And then, oh, by the way, I do a ton of damage too. So I do like some of the things we're seeing. Shield of Regrowth for Dioi as well.
Tiro forced up into the Valkyrie's discretion, but will do a lot of damage in response. Does get chased out of this fight for the time being, but the Cucullin has been isolated, like you mentioned, and they do fall down. Frostbite can only get 2 with the Cataclysm. There's not a lot of follow-up in response. In the Cosmos is Mex, lurking over the head of the 2 backlanders. Does go on to both. There's a Caledonian Boar in response, but the retreat comes out from Mex. But Frostbite, isolated themselves, now caught with that Stinger, cannot roll on out due to the Ohm, and Mex is coming back in. The collapse coming down onto Frostbite. Davros and Seagull just need to get on out. If they stick around too long, they'll find themselves out in front. But a lot of damage on Amino Kino means that a dueling dragons might have finished them off. But there is an Aegis Amulet coming through, an Order of the Blight. For the first time this game, I think, take a really clean fight at Fire Giant, and now we'll be resetting.
That pick on Nikos was absolutely huge. He stepped a little bit too far forward and they were able to punish it. And I'm not sure they've really been able to do that at any other point in this game. They've been able to pick him off after they've killed everybody else, but to pick him off first has been something that's been a tall task for them to do. Now, he will be up in 10 seconds, but they're going to be able to run towards this fire giant and say, hey, do we want to make a play for it? Ragnarok seeing in the invisibility of our little guy there waiting for the goblet to drop. Instead, he's not going to drop the cups. He says, I will wait here with the invis as, you know, a character that can also go invis. And this will be a pull by order of the Blight. And they do have the advantage for now, but I expect they might have to drop this. Dharmic Pillars comes out to try to drop it, though. This could get scary.
It's a big commit, but Nikos already falls down. Archie's stealing away the Yu Huang there. There's Seagull put out a lot of damage. Kino, very low health, has to get on the retreat as Ragnarok finds the kill. Seagull on the retreat, gets woofed up by Otiro, though, who will blast down this Yu Huang. Now, they don't take it cleanly, but they do steal it away, and that's almost more important. But J-Rod finds themselves completely alone, and Ragnarok recognizes the situation, will take them down. A Cataclysm onto Dioi, and Otiro means that this Guan Yu is very low, but Otiro will just swing down and will not stop relentlessly smacking this Greb down. Ragnarok finally shows back up, but it's 3 members. Loki does not do well into 3 members. Archies take away the Fire Giant. They lose 4 in the process, but the aggression from Order of the Blight has been stalled.
Yeah, Order of the Blight played that really well for the Fire Giant taken from them. Again, Nikos jumps in, they blow up Nikos. It opens up the fight for them. The only thing that could have gone better for them is if they are actually able to get the Fire Giant. Unfortunately, weren't able to, but they're going to pick up these towers. They're going to be able to make some gold for themselves here and go, hey, we're about to be down less gold than when that engagement started, and that's a big feels good, especially when you're taking these 5v5s and you're coming out on the winning side despite losing the enhanced Fire Giant.
Well, Archies, of course, like I said, they get the Fire Giant, so that big objective at least means they don't have to defend it. But they've been really struggling in these full-on 5v5 engagements, getting very split. And then when the fight gets a bit more scrappy, it's tending to favor Order of the Blight. Now, that is, with the exception of Ragnarok, has been showing up and getting these quick kills that you really need to be doing as Loki, right? Doing the job excellently. But what do you think has to change for Archies for them to find a clean 5v5? Because it's just not going well for them yet.
I mean, they need Nikos not to be that as far up as he was there. Not that that was his fault, but like he got so far up there, no one was able to capitalize on the space that he was creating at the Fire Giant there. With the Dharmic Pillars already being down, if they could have been with him, I think they could have done more. But unfortunately, that was not the case, as we see Seagull fall there after a, you know, Aegis goes off, unfortunately. The one thing I will say I'm surprised about as we go into this Phoenix defense is that Freya, Otiro decided not to buy Nimble Brandcrofts and went for the Typhons instead.
That's a very interesting pickup, not what you would normally be seeing in this situation. Now, they are down 1 member, Archies, for this Phoenix defense, but Ragnarok on the backside is just causing Order of the Blight to second-guess themselves a touch. They do have these Oni minions on the way, and it's not like they got Fire Giant buff expiring, so they make a push into the Phoenix, but with Ragnarok, Freya as your hunter, they don't do a ton of damage. Now, Ragnarok gets spotted out by the minions. The attention turns from Order of the Blight onto this Loki, but they will retreat on out of there. That has got to be a scary feeling to see the full enemy team just descend upon you. But Order of the Blight got stuck in no man's land here, right? They can't push this Phoenix down quickly. They are split pushing in the middle lane, but now taking the fight on this left-hand side. Minokino on the retreat, gets caught out, but J-Rod Jr. too low to continue this engagement, and Ragnarok will pick up that kill. So what was a 5 versus 4 is now going to be a 5 versus 4 the other way around, as they don't push into the Phoenix. They don't get the mid lane tier 2. Blaze, this game is just so hard when you don't have enhanced Fire Giant.
It is just insane. I really thought Mex was going to go for this right side, and then through the Cosmos picks up the fact that, oh, hey, they're rotating that way because we just lost members. We need to go talk about the fact that how well Ragnarok stalled them there by just showing face behind them. It really created this, you know, hey, we're kind of stuck in a trap. Ragnarok's behind us. If we separate at any point, he's going to pick us off. But then Nikos just goes in and sets up all the damage in the world for the rest of the team. And then they find J-Rod Jr. there. Huge plays by Archies on the defense, and I think it's just really well played to kind of keep them in that box, as now Nikos is in trouble and will fall to Otiro.
these small picks across the map are going to be absolutely horrible, because now Fire Giant spawns in 30 seconds and Nikos is down for 60. So if Order of the Blight opt to, they can take a Fire Giant fight, because all right, a Phoenix push is going to be very tough, even in a 4v5 situation. Hold on, evening the odds in an attempt is Ragnarok, but the Valkyrie's discretion over the Assassinate means that Ragnarok just has to retreat. But Seagull, with a long-range dueling dragons, will catch out Otiro, and that's a Freya off the map, but a lot of dive on Tamino Kinos. Davros gets another kill as Mex, getting aggressive, falls down to Ragnarok. Now, all of a sudden, what was an advantageous fight for Order of the Blight has swung completely around, because they just have this Guan Yu and Ganesh online. They don't have a lot of damage, and looks like Archie's going to try to run it down mid.
What a huge play with the Cataclysm there by Frostbite to just be able to go in. Seagull hits a nasty snipe after Ragnarok gets pressured out by Otiro, with not being able to get the kill, and the Valkyrie's distraction goes off. Just a great play by Archies there. They capitalize on every little mistake that was made there by Order of the Blight, and they weren't big mistakes, they were small. And now they're going to be able to pull this Fire Giant, hopefully secure it for themselves with it being enhanced. Now they are trying to make a player. J-Rod's on the way in with the Dharmic Pillars. Archie still confirm it though. And now J-Rod Jr. and Dioi might be in trouble. I expect these tier 2s, or at least one of them, to come off a map, and a Phoenix push is on the way, as we're still at least 15 seconds away from someone respawning.
Well, of course, very late in the day for there to still be tier 2 towers online, let alone no Phoenixes to go down just yet. It will be a slow push from Archies. They're not particularly committing to any one lane, and the respawns will come through in time. So they just take a tier 2 in the mid lane for now. They have left a tier 2 on the right-hand side up, though. So it's going to be a tough siege anyway. Like, no matter where you go, there will be 5 members of Order of the Blight on the other side. But you know, we talked about Archie's Phoenix defense in the previous game, but do Archie's team composition, is that something that will benefit them when they come to these Phoenix pushes?
I think so. If Frostbite and Nikos can play this together and chain their CCs the right way, and then you have Tusky come through, I mean, that's gonna shred. But that's nothing to take away from Order of the Blight. Order of the Blight have a great way to defend here. They have the Dharmic Pillars. They have the Silence from Ganesh. You have Mexen go through the Cosmos and go and jump on a carry if needed. Otiro can go in that Valkyrie's Assault. I think overall, this is going to be a bloodbath out of Phoenix. It is going to be an absolute fight for both teams here. I think Archie should probably go ahead and take the tier 2 off of the right-hand side before they do any of this. I expect Ragnarok to go ahead and split push mid, so they have pressure in both lanes. Overall, this game has been much more fight-centric than game 1.
Yeah, and of course helped by the fact that Archies had a good start, but weren't clearly ahead at any real point. They had a decent lead, but you know, didn't manage to really put it together to put this game out of reach of Order of the Blight. But you know, it's been clean from both sides in certain ways, and it's also been not so clean on other ways. But like you said, we're seeing this 4-1 split between right side and mid lane. Trebuchet's on its way. Do you think Archies just take their time with this one?
Yeah, I think you just stall out. I mean, there's no reason to get super aggressive here unless you catch Mix off the mark, which might happen here. Ragnarok looking to get a little bit aggressive. But other than that, I think you just stall out, wait for the Treb, because they have to go to the Treb. They have to come out of that Phoenix to get rid of that damage. Ragnarok looking to fight here through the Cosmos, comes through.
Forced out. That's a little win for Ragnarok. Now the mid lane Phoenix under some pressure. The Trebuchets arrived on right, but Nikos blinks forward onto Minokino. Double beads coming out on those procs. But now this Phoenix very low health and will fall down. But Dioi diving the backside. Ragnarok low health has to retreat. Davros though already done their job of taking down this Phoenix. But now Otiro low health. And this Freya can't get into this engagement just yet. Now Max looking on the sidelines has healed up, but a retreat comes through from Archies. They've just about get away with that one, and they've managed the situation quite well.
And that was actually a Magi Shelter proc that got both of the CC immunity there. Huge for that item. Again, that's, you know, hard to get off sometimes, but it did work out in the favor this time. That Treb just fell on the right side here, so they still have pressure as Ragnarok goes in with the Assassinate.
A really good CC chain there. Locks down this Ratatasker right side Phoenix under some pressure now. Davros firing those shots from Artemis. 2 Phoenixes have now fallen. Dioi swinging around with this cavalry charge. Gets off a little bit early to get a stun out. But now J-Rod Jr. gets locked down. These transgressors fates from Davros have been completely on point. Locking in so many members of Order of the Blight. They cannot handle this Artemis pick. Now they take their time to pry open this Titan room. Inokino takes some damage. Otiro forced into the Valkyrie's discretion. They opt instead to rotate over to the left-hand side of the map, going for a bit of 100% completion, because this Order of the Blight team will not go down easily, but right now they've sort of been put in a checkmate position.
Yeah, having all 3 Phoenixes down, even if you have to back off, it causes a huge problem for trying to defend here. They're not going to be able to step up to another Fire Giant if it goes that far, because they're going to have to play base defense. And this is all in favor of Archies. Now they're doing a corner camp, waiting for someone to pop out. I don't know if they're going to have to wait that long. Maybe they do. Curious to see how this ends up working out for them. But I really do think at this point, maybe you back. If you need pots, you go and grab them. The Fire Giant's about to come back up, so you can go for Enhanced again. Order of the Blight are in a very difficult position to be in. I mean, there's not really much you can do for this Fire Giant. You have 3 Phoenixes exposed, so Titan's going to be under a ton of aggression here. And really, if you step up, you have to be worried about them backdooring. Overall, just not a fun place to be.
Of course, one of the best gods in the game for backdooring is Loki, and Ragnarok has played this Loki pretty much to perfection, right, this whole game. Had some good early pressure, has been such a threat later on. You know, Mex was winning that battle. If we run it back to before any Phoenixes fell, Mex was winning a small engagement, but then all of a sudden, Loki turns it around, puts out a lot of damage, and then that one, not even kill, just turned it around on its head. But now Fire Giant goes the way of Archies, and Order of the Blight have stepped up. They're looking to take this engagement. A big Cataclysm comes through. Minokino low health, but Davros being chased away. Already falls down. The frontliners take down Minokino in response. But now Ragnarok on the retreat as Mex tries to focus down. Seagull on this Yu Kwang. Purification beats out Freya low health, and Nico spots them out, slams them down. Dioi falls down too as J-Rod Jr. Yet again, we've seen this picture so many times that the Ganesh cannot escape from any more aggression. Seagull almost will fall to Mex, but the enhanced Fire Giant difference paying off here, and now Fire Minions sprawl into the Titan room. It's just Mex left to put up any sort of defense. Archies have pulled it back and will be taking this second game to pull this set to 1-1, and we, Blades, are going to a game number 3.
Yeah, Winions were there. They were the minions said, "We will end this if you guys don't show up." Just large amount of waves in there. I think there was 3, maybe 4 on the way. The 4th was on the way in there on the left side. Great fight there by Archies. Really controlled and just well played.
Well, we did see, of course, Loki banned out game number 1. Loki was let through game number 2. Blaze, are we going to see a game number 3?
No way. There's no way Ragnarok gets that Loki again. There's no shot. If he does get the Loki again, I want to know what the plan is, because that was devastating with the assassinates. The way they're able to play around the Cataclysm by Frostbite. Nico's on this Kukulcha lane. I mean, honestly, Archie's comp was just really, really good, and I think it's hard to decide who are you banning. I think it's deciding, hey, can we take one of those gods for ourselves and ban Loki?
And, of course, has to be pointed out, the Artemis pickup coming through is, you know, I don't want to call it a questionable pick, right? It's not something we always see. It's not something that's, you know, a very common pick. But you mentioned when it was chosen, you didn't hate it. And I got to say, I agree. But could you ban Artemis? No way, right? That's got to feel so rough. You know, it was good. It did very well into Freya. But is it ban-worthy?
I don't know if I'm banning Artemis over maybe going something that can put more pressure on the Artemis, or that has just as good of a team fight ultimate as Artemis does, because you have Cataclysm, you have Chaldean Boar, and like that's in for a good time for your entire team. So I expect that we're going to see some changes elsewhere. Maybe the Geb goes away or gets picked up for Order of the Blight, Order of the Blight overall. I'm kind of curious to see how this goes here. I don't think Artemis is worth the ban. I'm still very curious on how Davros was able to get away with only building the Shadow Steel Shuriken for crit. I mean, anytime I've ever tried to do that, I'm getting like flamed by my teammates and I lose. Like it's a bad time. But it was really well played. I mean, 50,000 damage is nothing to scoff at in that game.
Well, we'll have to see how Order of the Blight now adjust to losing a game. We are in for a big one, of course. We're into the final game coming up soon, but we will be taking a short break. Please do not go anywhere because you need to see how this story ends. You know, it's back and forth. There's a tale of two sides, and we will see who comes out on top. Like I said, please do not go anywhere, and we will be right back.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, relentless you survive. They never lose hope when everything's cold and the fighting's near. It's deep in their bones, they'll rot into smoke when the fire is fierce. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never
We are back with game number 3 between Order of the Blight and Archies. Now, it's been back and forth. Archies fell down quite badly in the first game, but really fought back to take game number 2, probably by virtue of the Loki that was banned out in game number 1. Almost certainly going to be seeing that banned out in game number 3, but, you know, Blaze, if you are Order of the Blight, yeah, you know what? I was going to say, do you really ban it? Already first banned it. Get that right off the table right away. We're coming into game number 3, and there is not going to be a Loki in it.
I was gonna say you draft Heimdall. That's what's gonna be the answer to the question. I was like, you know where he is at all times. But we do see, you know, Loki come off the board. We see Lancelot off the board. Yu Huang, Eset, all these top meta picks. We're finally not gonna see a Yu Huang in this game. So at least mid lane shouldn't be as safe for whoever has it, because you know Yu Huang has won both games. So that there's that. And again, Khepri taken away. No one wants to deal with this revive, it seems. And I don't blame them. All right, it has CC immunity too. It overall is just an insane ability to have to fight around, and to see it go away, probably for the best.
It's also a very easy pick, right? Now, not to say that there aren't difficulties with Khepri, and it's not like it's just a surefire win. But as we've mentioned, this is a draft league where these players maybe haven't played together too often. And Khepri, very reasonable at all times, right? If you are queuing with people you don't know and you somehow end up support, pick Khepri. Nobody will complain about a Khepri. But something people might complain about is Cupid being on the other side. And Cupid top pick this time around. We haven't seen Cupid yet this set, Blaze. Are we about to find out why?
I'd imagine so. He's gonna talk all about the fields of love and heart bombs and throwing hearts out. You know, he's gonna make everybody love him one way or another. And that's a scary time to fight into. You're really gonna be drafting some CC immunity here. Baba Yaga coming through, and I'm not gonna lie, this is one of my favorite mid picks to see. Her going into that house and the amount of damage that she puts out and the chaoticness of her kit just feels good. Because you don't ever know what's coming if you're the enemy team. You don't know if you're getting an L, a Y, an oval, whatever. So I'm excited to see that. Again, we see this Cabrakan that's been banned away this whole entire time. And that Cabrakan could be a flex pick. We don't know. Is it going solo? Is it going support? Is it going jungle? And we're going to have to wait and find out, as Jing Chen and Merlin are the next lock-ins for Order of the Blight.
You know, I love the Jing Chen combined with Cupid. Jing Chen to me is a very solid support. Not quite as good as Khepri, but still one of those guys you can just throw it into a team, right? It goes well with pretty much anything. It's very easy to kill something that is literally flying towards you slowly, by the way. It's not too quick. And Cupid, that Fields of Love, fantastic, huge AoE beads burner. Very rare we actually see it connect, but always we see it beads out. Now, a god who does handle that quite well is actually Artemis, you know, has that Caledonian Boar for some extra safety. We've already seen it do very well, but definitely struggles into Cupid in this early pressure phase, because Cupid, possibly the highest pressure ADC out there right now, certainly the one that's most popular in the meta, and I just think this time we won't maybe see quite as free of a ride that Artemis gets this time around.
Yeah, I'm expecting this Artemis is going to get pressured out a bit more, though. I do have the Cabrakan, and that Cabrakan does feel pretty good with Artemis, so we'll have to see how that ends up going. I still favor the Cupid, Jing Chen lane. This is smidge. But the ban-wise here, we do see Nemesis and Kali. The hyper farm jungler is taken away here, and the Daji's off the table. We saw it earlier. I don't think either team wants to have to deal with that, so not surprised to see that banned away. And the Geb is what ends up getting banned away here. They don't want to give any opportunity for beads not to be used. So they take away that Earth Shield and say, we also don't want to deal with that Blink Cataclysm. It was a little bit of a problem last game. And Ravana is what's being hovered next for the Archies. And again, this leaves their draft looking very good, because you don't know where this is going. They have this Cabrakan Ravana, and it's definitely leaving Order of the Blight going, okay, where are these picks going? How do we plan on playing into them? What do we draft to counteract these in the lanes that we think they're going in? Because Jing Chen's most likely going support. I mean, you could make an argument for solo, but now we see Kuchulain and Kleena are the next hovers here. I'm a big fan of the Kleena. We don't see her playing too often anymore, but
No, we
that
don't.
god is good.
And you know what that god does very well is kill gods like Artemis, who, will not have a lot of space. Now, of course, Kalina isn't this type of god that relies on CC to get their kills, Obviously puts a lot of damage out very, very quickly. Still not locked in, of course, so we do need to be mindful of that. But I think it would be a good way to shut down the Artemis, but there still might be some better options to deal with the Baba Yaga. And now we're seeing Ratataska hovered over, who made it all the way through to final pick and does come on through. Probably will be a Ratataska in the jungle, unless we're seeing some spicy Kukulkan jungle. I think this will be a pretty set in their ways draft. And what a juxtaposition, right? Order of the Blight, very simple. Cupid's going Hunter, Xing Chen support. Whereas Archie's very, very flexible. Like you said, still, with this final pick, we don't really know where everyone's going.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm assuming the Ravana's probably going jungle this game. No, they actually lock in the Humbats. All right, I've been standard corrected. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I misspoke here. This Humbats is going to be good with this Cabrakan. The Cabrakan can wall in. You have the Fear No Evil coming off that. Kaladin board. I mean, this team fight is nuts. That's not to take anything away from Order of the Blight side. Their team fight is also insane. So I think this is going to be an even, possibly more even matchup than we saw in game 2. And this is going to be a fun time. My question going into this is, does the Cabrakan run Big Loki as the skin? Is that what we get? They couldn't get Loki, so they had to get him another way. You know what I mean?
Good point. And of course, if you force out Loki early on, and Cabrakan in the jungle does have a very similar play style. I don't think we'll have a Raven support. I think that would be something I've actually never seen before. But my one curiosity about this Archies draft is, compared to how the other games have been drafted, much stronger early game, right? Hunbats, Raven, Cabrakan, really strong 3 gods in the early 15 minutes or so. But these games have been going long, and do you think we might struggle? Well, sorry, Archies might struggle as we get to these late game stages with these picks.
I think it's a possibility. I mean, you just go and buy Phantom Shell to counteract the Cabrakan ult, and then we've been seeing them buy that Magi Shelter throughout a couple of these games. This could become a problem later on, but I think if they could make it early on and put enough pressure and enough of a lead on the map, that it might not matter.
Well, we are now getting into this final game of this best of 3 set. Of course, we will be having Order of the Blight yet again, taking up the Order side. Meanwhile, for the Chaos side, it will be Archies running it back from that end. And to make it a three-peat blaze, we've talked about it every time, may as well touch on it yet again. Both sides going for the same mid-jungle start. And, neither side's been too punished for it. Neither side's gotten an early kill into solo lane. I just think they've all settled on, yeah, this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, they've just gotten comfortable with it. It's usually the junglers that are more adamant of going this route, in the sense of, like, they dictate whether you do red first or speed first. It's their preference. I think it's interesting to see, and it has not changed either game. I'm curious to see how the dual lane goes. I think we're going to have some good focus over here this game, though, with the Cabrakan and Artemis versus Xing Chen Cupid, because both teams have a reason of why they can win the lane. With Archies being the Cabrakan is very aggressive here. He's a W key god. That's the only way you can play him. But then you have this Cupid for Order of the Blight, and I think that's very strong into this Artemis, and stuns for this Trimble.
Already a lot of damage coming back and forth. We mentioned previously there's not going to be too much action in dual lane, but in the solo lane, a jungle gank coming over from Dior. We mentioned no side had actually gone for it. This time, though, Order of the Blight attempt it, can have it pay off for them. While they were under some pressure in the dual lane, taking all the distraction, as they might still put out some more pressure as Frostbite gets stunned out. Very, very low health. Leaping forward is J-Rod Jr. Forces out the magic shell already, but J-Rod Jr. now caught in a transgressor's fate. This is a really, really heavy early brawling going on.
Yeah, we've been waiting for, last game it was like 5 or 6 minutes, but we didn't get it this game. This game, it's right at a minute, and we're already fighting everywhere on the map. We saw the cringe cake in solo. It looks like we could see a double kill in duo if J-Rod's able to get aggressive here, but we get the trap come through for Dev Ross. But look at this. Oterio says, I want more.
Otiro with that flutter forward twice in a row. Hook slam to confirm it. That is a kill in this dual lane before 2 minutes, which is very, very rough, especially because it's gone on to the Cabrakan, who we discussed needs to have a good early start, but might now look to struggle just a touch and order the Blight off to a flyer.
Yeah, and one thing we talk about with Cabrakan is, so when we talk about junglers, we talk about feast or famine junglers a lot, and he's kind of a feast or famine support because he requires playing an aggressive way where you always have to be running at somebody. It's really hard to play a passive support Cabrakan. So for him to take a spill early and give up a little bit of a lead here is going to end up hurting probably over the next 5 minutes or so, unless they can get a pick back earlier than that. But I assume, you know, Cabrakan's going to at least stumble a little bit on his way to getting online.
Of course, Ragnarok on this Hunbats. You don't really see Hunbats getting active on the map until about level 5, and, you know, has hit level 4, but their team's already down a touch. All right, not too much, but you don't want to be coming from behind as Hunbats. You want to be the one getting in the face, getting aggressive, not having to defend with that Fear No Evil, because it's possibly the best ultimate in the game. You know, it does so much, but it still has to be built around a team, right? You can't just solo kill people too early on, especially since the 9.5 patch. It does a lot of damage, but doesn't quite do enough. But Dioi making the rotation over. I don't think they'll get too much out of this, but are you surprised to see this Ratatasker getting active so early?
No, I think it's really important for Ratatasker to get active early. You know that this Humbats has that Fear No Evil that is a huge team changer. It can go into a fight and cause a lot of problems. And look at this, the dive in off the Cosmos, but Seagull already has ult, is able to stay protected there.
Ragnarok blinking over the wall. Fear No Evil onto Dioi. There's a Purification Beat. Teleports to Mino Kino instead, though. But this Merlin might be easy to take down. No mana for Ragnarok, though. They cannot find the final shot. I think an overhead smash there would have sealed the deal, but didn't manage to find it. And that's not quite a drop kill, but it can't feel good for Archies. Their first real attempt into this fight. And it doesn't pay off, but a double stun into the Tremors, right into the Fields of Love, though. Frostbite low health shell gets popped from Geordie, and there is the Whirlwind Rage and Steel to seal the deal, as Otiro gets another kill in this lane, and it's just going the way of Order of the Blight.
Yeah, that's another pickup on this Cabrakan, and he's going to fall further behind. He is not yet level 5. And they really need him to get to the level 5 mark. That way, when Humbats rotates over, they can use that. They have the Chaldean Boar. They can team up with it. Overall, right now, this is a rough time as Dioi steps up, goes for, you know, some aggression there on that blue buff, and is able to walk away scot-free.
Funny, I'd mentioned, I in fact specifically pointed out the strength of the early game from this Archies draft, but they are being rushed down in this early stages, and they can't seem to find a way back into it. You know, it's been close. I think maybe a bit of certainty on which target Ragnarok was going to go for in that mid lane, because a pick onto Dioi or a pick onto Mino Kino is fine, but you're very unlikely to get both, and you know, sort of couldn't make up their minds, I don't think. Kurt Archie's there, and you know, we've seen how Order of the Blight have been playing this set. If they give up too much too early, they might not get a chance to get it back. But I don't know. Are you seeing anything in the way of builds that might allow Archies to claw their way back in already?
I mean, again, we're seeing this Cabrakan going for mana cores early. I think at this point, you probably needed some prots with how hard you're getting pressured. But I understand wanting to at least get the tier 2 online. I'm curious to see if we wait to see that get finished. Overall, though, Cabrakan does make very good use of mana core spikes. I think the most interesting, though, is the fact that Nikos decides to go for the Bluestone here to get that ability damage and the tick on it, where we see a lot of Ravana's go, you know, towards that Death Toll or sometimes the Warding Sigil, which has since been nerfed when that build was really popular. I'm actually really curious to see how this pans out for Nikos.
Well, a lot of time being spent in this dual lane for Frostbite, of course, needed to catch up on their early farm, because you know, mana core spike, not the cheapest item around. You know, you do have to really farm up to get that, so understandable, but they might start suffering with Davros. So now Dioi lurking around, just picking up all of these offerings. Looks like they might actually try to steal some, maybe, and yeah, it looks like Order of the Blight, like I said, they're taking an early fast start and really running with it, as Otiro fluttering forward yet again. I don't think I've ever seen a Cupid flutter aggressively so many times in the first 7 minutes.
Yeah, I think Otiro knows, like, hey, I have the pressure. Like, we might be the same level, but I am able to play this aggressive. I have my full Transcendence online at stacking, where at that point, Davros just got theirs online. So overall, I think there's a reason to be that aggressive. But again, we do see that mana core spikes come out early. I do think it's a good pickup. I'm just surprised to see it this early over something like Mail Renewal.
Yeah, it does scream aggression, right? But it's tough. You don't want to play defensively on Cabrakan, right? You said it yourself. It's a W key god. You have to play it this way. But it's already not really paid off. And this is the stage where Cabrakan's at its strongest. It does combo well with Davros on this Artemis even later on. So it's certainly not going to completely become irrelevant, but the damage based on it will sort of slip away. But I don't know, does it really set up Seagull particularly well as well, or will this Baba Yaga find it difficult to get the damage off?
I think it's all coming around to being able to see that pickup. I think one of the biggest struggles with Manticore spikes is seeing it picked up, as we see a huge team fight break out here in mid, and J-Rock gets a wash machine, almost throws Nikos under the tower.
Dunking down is Dioi. A big fight going both ways, but someone might come off really, really rough if they do fall down too many. Archies here, really low health members have to retreat. Frostbite looks like they will fall down, but can they find anyone else? Seagull will retreat, and it looks like it is just the support going to fall down. But that fight, it was risky from both to take it, because that could have potentially been a really big swing, but Order of the Blight, unrelenting so far.
Yeah, and stuff like that. I mean, they get one more pick like that. Again, Caldian Boar comes out here. They could start looking at this Gold Fury. I mean, it's almost 10 minutes in the game. You're feeling pretty good at this point if your support can rotate over. And look at Dioi's positioning here, looking to get aggressive onto this Artemis.
No Transgressor's Fate, of course, but dashing right on into his Dioi. Here's player 3 showing up as J-Rod Jr. coming in too. Otiro still firing some pot shots at the tower. J-Rod tanking this tower for a very long time though, and they will fall down to Davros. So, the tower gets pressured out some more, but they just fed a kill to Davros there completely unnecessarily. But Mechs gobbling up Nikos in this right-hand side of the map, and that is not what you want to be seeing if you're Archies.
Oh, and Cabrakan's going to get aggressive here, looking for this keep. It flutters away into the health, so it should be okay. Oh, yeah, Fields of Love, everything's fine. And Otiro's brave, no shot walking back in. I'm just amazed that he stays there. Most Cupids would have just walked away and went to try to find any type of regeneration of health there. But the one thing to kind of talk about is the fact that they are playing a mental game with Davros here when, Dioi goes in to dive, throws out, trying to get that stun, and the beads come through. And I don't think they were going to get aggressive enough to try to go for the kill there because Dio doesn't want to die to the tower, but does get beads away, and those are going to be gone for another 100 seconds. So they might look to get aggressive over in this dual lane again very soon.
Yeah, and I think it's a good pressure point to have, right? They've already picked up a couple of kills onto Nikos on this Raven. Seagull on the Baba Yaga, still quite safe. They've made some attempts, but it's not easy to take down a Baba Yaga, although that is the home sweet home burned out by J-Rod Jr. There, we'll feel quite happy about that. But I especially after a 50k player damage game from Davros in the previous game, you have to put some focus on this Artemis, and I think they are handling it well, but can they lock them down without overcommitting? That was a big tower dive that they really didn't need to do, and if they give up too many cheap kills, they might end up costing more than they gain. But Nico's very low health just about stays alive, and Mechs now might get collapsed on.
Yeah, they're looking for Nikos again here. Luckily, Ragnarok and Frostbite have made the rotation as Dioi dives in anyway. Oh no.
That's sort of what I'm talking about. You don't want to commit too hard. That comes the tremors coming through, but they will be walked on out of. And now Archie's trying to get aggressive because Seagull's on scene. Doesn't have the home sweet home, of course, so can't quite connect with their damage enough. Mech's still swinging on his Kukul, and you have to play a solo laner with confidence. But now the tier 1 tower on the left-hand lane falls down as well. Order of the Blight are overstepping just a touch, but they're not quite being punished for it yet.
Yeah, I mean, you drop a kill there in the sense of, like, you got aggressive, weren't able to pick up the kill, you end up falling. I think that's okay. But they do have a 3,500 gold lead, and that's pretty important, as Otiro is looking for the 1v1, and Ragnarok's made the rotation, looking for more.
Ragnarok coming all the way over. They're finding a couple of shots, and they do end up finding the damage onto Otiro. So this very aggressive Cupid does get punished. And this is sort of what I was talking about, right? They are pushing forward to press their advantage, but this now starting to bleed kills here and there. We see Dioi falling under tower. You see, Otiro there getting killed off. Ragnarok hasn't had much to do in this game so far. They haven't had too much of an impact, but getting that kill onto Cupid is huge for them and really starts to spike this Hunbats. But I don't know, do Order of the Blight need to slow it down, or do they need to keep going at this pace?
I don't think there's anything wrong with their pacing. I think they need to be more communicative on how they're going in for these tower dives. Both times that they've thrown kills here were in tower dives, and it seems it's like communication got a little bit off the mark. The one thing to talk about, though, is that we already have J-Rod with a Phantom Shell.
Yeah, of course. And of course, when you are worried about this Kabrekin's early game, getting the Phantom Shell on right away means that, early game or no, Phantom Shell will let you walk on out of it, and late game, the damage isn't quite so frightening. So I can definitely understand that pickup. I think it's really, really smart to get it through right away, because if you take too long to get that, you drop one or even two team fights. As hold on, Mech's under a lot of pressure, getting burned down by that Fear No Evil, but this is a very tanky Cook Cullen, who's still got a bit of mobility. Mystic Rush does connect, and they will find the damage. Nikos gets the kill, and that is a response kill for Archies, but now Davros under some pressure.
Yeah, that was a really good play by Mex, though. Almost was able to get away with it. Duya came with that through the space and Cosmos and was able to help Otiro pick up a killer. Seagull is looking for something. I would be scared if I'm against this Otiro. We do see Frostbite make the rotation. Oh my goodness. Otiro's a mad lad.
Oh, man.
Getting a ton of damage on this Cupid. 4-1-0. Full transcendent stacks. Working on I'm guessing Kins is going to be the next item we see there. And taking tower shots. What more can you ask for from your ADC?
I mean, that's how you want to play this god, right? Cupid, like you mentioned with Kabrekin, not quite so much of a W key god, but you certainly want to play like that in the laning phase, just getting aggressive, putting pressure out. And, Davros can't deal with it because it is a bit of a bad matchup for this Artemis, but the rest of the team also struggling. I'm not sure what Seagull was hoping to accomplish there. Of course, did get into the home sweet home, but took so much damage in the process, they end up falling. Of course, has gone for that Karen's coin build, but you don't want to be forcing kills too much because you end up falling for it. And I don't know, I think Archies just have to slow the pace down and tighten up, because I don't know, it's really not working for them just yet.
Yeah, I think they do need to try to figure out how can we slow down Order of the Blight and not play into the aggression that's showing across the map. They did that well just a second ago in solo, where they caught mechs and were able to pick up a kill there. I think they also have to start thinking about, okay, how do we take Otiro out? How do we get a shutdown kill on Otiro, allow Davros back into the game, now 2 levels down? Not that that's far out of the game, but just, to be more comfortable in that duo lane. But overall, that's a question we're just have to see how they respond to. I think it's who do they send over there, and I think it comes down to having to be Ragnarok on this Hunbats.
Yeah, I think this Hunbats, like I said, really hasn't had much presence on the map. Now, that's fine, have built up a 2-level lead, of course, over their opposing jungler, which is great to see, especially when your team's 4k down. To have a lead is quite surprising. But you can't play Hunbats quite in the same way that the Loki was played previously. But now Otiro burns the Purification Beads. It's a bait, though, from Davros, as here comes Ragnarok coming through. Does have the Fear No Evil, but they wait. They hold on to that ability, and it just gives time for Otiro to re-engage. But now, taking a lot of damage in the process, Ragnarok will fall down to the Heart Bomb as they bumped into J-Rod Jr. as well. Davros low health, will bet focused on by J-Rod Jr. The rotation coming in, because there through the Cosmos is Dioi. Seagull's made the rotation over as well, but so is Mino Kino. And right now, Archie's just losing by virtue of numbers. That it's a magic shell popped yet again. This needs to be a retreat from Archie's, and Frostbite surely going to fall down, and that's just a bit too much of an overcommitment from Archie's there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really unfortunate there that Ragnarok pre-beads the Fields of Love, and it was just too early. And the beads fall off, and the Fields of Love pop, and that's what ended up caused him to fall down. But great fight by both teams here. Unfortunately, it goes in favor of Order of the Blight for Archies. But I do think it was a good way for them to get aggressive. I thought Frostbite tried to play that well, coming from behind the tower to, keep Otiro from having a way to get out. And overall, I liked the plan. It's just execution was a bit off the mark.
And it's the right thing to do, though, right? Get Otiro down because this Cupid has been wreaking some havoc. Now they have got a second kill onto this Cupid. It keeps Davros not too far behind, are about half an item off, but only one level down as well. So Davros, more of a late game carry than Cupid is, of course, will have an opportunity, surely. But like I said, Ragnarok hadn't had too much of an impact so far. Finally tries to make something happen. It doesn't quite work out, but would you expect Ragnarok to make some more plays over onto Otiro?
I think so. I think right there, Ragnarok actually ends up securing that kill in living if the beads doesn't pop too early. And I think it's a good idea to try to, even this out between Otiro and Devros, and then, put Devros into a lead. Why not? You saw what he did last game on the Artemis. The sooner you get him to level 20 and the full build, the sooner it gives your chance of your team just being able to go into these team fights in shred as the Fields of Love comes out again here. And this is going to be a big fight.
Otiro making the rotation all the way over, evens the odds, well, puts them in favor of Order of the Blight. And now Frostbite already falling down, and in the backside, Mechs causing so much havoc along with Dioi. Will fall down, but Ragnarok falls down too. A couple of kills come in the way of Nikos at least, but Davros finally shows up, finally on the scene. Can't catch Otiro, the Caledonian Boar goes the other direction. It's Nikos and Davros up against Otiro. We're hiding on the backside is Mino Kino to put a lot of damage onto this Raven. And now diving the tier 2 tower, J-Rod takes too much damage, pops the magic shell, a lot of low health members. Otiro tanks a couple of tower shots, will still stay alive, and Davros cannot finish these last couple of kills. Unfortunately, so close for Archies, but Order of the Blight take their team fight and they win it very well.
Yeah, that's an unofficial unofficial triple for Otiro. And they have the Trebuchet here. This tier 2 tower is under, assault here, and Davros could be in trouble. Oh, Otiro is definitely in trouble.
Yeah, falling there somewhat unnecessarily, wandered through the jungle right into Seagull, who sees the opportunity with that blast off. And I don't know, Order of the Blight are playing very, very well. Their team fighting fantastically. Of course, the early rotation from Otiro makes a big difference there. But, Archie's responded to it quite well and, are a few thousand gold down, but certainly not out of this one.
No, definitely not out. I think they've been responding pretty well here. I think they really need to figure out how are they going to deal with Otiro in these team fights. Is there a way they can dive and get him early? If they can, I think that's going to lead to a better team fight for them as Seagull picks up a big kill on Dio there.
Yeah, Dio diving onto Davros again. They really want this Pyroman to do Archies, but Order of the Blight will take it away. But the fight afterwards coming back in from Archies. Still have 4 members around, of course, but not willing to commit onto the enemy front line. I think there, Archies are trying to take Pyro, but, Davros is low health. There is a Ratatasker on the other team. All right, it went well for them this time, but only just, and they certainly need to be more mindful of where Dioi is on the map, because he's just causing so much chaos.
Yeah, I'm looking at these builds right now, and we see the Mana Core spikes coming out again in big numbers for Archies. They already have 2 online. These solo support players are really trying to set up and do extra damage for themselves and their team. And I think that's absolutely huge here. Seagull has that Karen's coin now, has a Divine, looking on a book. Overall, this Baba Yaga's going to start slapping sooner rather than later.
Zero gets a stun onto Davros. Do they know they are being baited again? It does seem to be that way, but maybe they're not sure quite from what angle. Now this tier 1 tower under some pressure. There's the Caledonian Boar and the Purification Beads come on out. There's the Fields of Love in response. Fear no evil will surely come down soon. No, it does not, as Davros gets caught by the Fields of Love as well. No, Tiro with a 1 versus 2 under the tier 1 tower. Mental shattered plays.
Yeah, Otiro just absolutely popping off this game. Didn't like the way last game went down, and now the Oni Fury will fall in favor of Order of the Blight for free here, as Mex is just zoning out Seagull in mid.
Yep.
This is huge for Order.
Seagull not able to make a rotation over means that the Gold Fury goes completely for free after the 2 kills as well, and it's just going quite badly now for Archies. They, still only 5k down, but they're going to lose a tier 2 and left, it looks like. Otiro has fought off so much aggression so far, and it's clearly just a complete menace to be handled with right now. Archies need a bit of a rethink, I think, and I don't know, how do you take down Otiro when he's in this sort of mood?
I have no idea. I mean, look at the player damage right now. He's 5,000 up on the next person, and this is why you can't let Cupid through. Cupid just does so much. He has the CC, he has the heals, he has a dash out that provides, you know, just a ton for his kit. And now Dioi gets to just escape through the Cosmos for free. They're not able to get any of these targets they're wanting to lock down for kills. And now they know 3 members of Archies are on the left side of the map rotating over, hopefully. But if not, this Fire Giant is going to go in favor of Aura the Blight. And I'm not sure anybody's going to respond here. Ragnarok's over here. Nikos is on the way, but are they going to be soon enough? Is there something they can do to secure it for themselves?
Do you have Fear No Evil, of course? Otiro firing some shots out. Nikos comes from behind. Ragnar, though, caught in the cripple, has to drop that Fear No Evil defensively, and the Mesmerize just too long. It was all a bit of a bait all along, it seems. There's Seagull in that home sweet home, but it's just J-Rod Jr. taking some shots. They find a Whirlwind Raging Steel onto Nikos, and will take a lot of damage for their troubles. Will this Xing Chan, and will fall down, so a bit of an overcommitment there, but the Fire Giant started up yet again, but it's not going to be enough. Max low health, there's a Caledonian Ball with a good stun. Finally, a lot of damage, but this Cullen will live on. Does get into the Rage Transformation. The Caledonian Ball wreaking havoc through the backline now. Otiro firing some shots under Frostbite. Gets a little bit of healing to keep themselves alive. This Fire Giant will live on just a bit longer, Blaze.
Yeah, I think, you know, that was your chance to take out Otiro. The Chaldean Boar hits him. He's at half health. And they just didn't feel confident enough to be able to go in on him there. But really great play there by Archies to really counteract what was going on with the Fire Giant and respond to the play that Order of the Blight made. It shows that they still have confidence in what's going on. Yes, there's a 5,500-ish gold lead, but they're still going to fight into this just like they did during game 1. They are not letting this shadow their mental hold them down. They are wanting to fight and show, hey, you might be up. We're still going to fight you and we're not afraid.
I also think the use of how do I say it, the bait onto the Pheno Weevil. Hold on, there's a big Pheno Weevil coming in. Dioi has to get up through the Cosmos, but Otiro being chased down. There's the Aegis coming through. Fields of Love again is big, but there's a lot of damage coming onto these 2 members, and Otiro will finally fall down in a fight, but Frostbite low health. There's a nice shell to keep their self alive. Now Seagull goes up into the home sweet home, but there's not a lot of support backing them up. Need to be very, very careful on this. Baba Yaga will be able to retreat, but it was a bit scrappy, but they get a pick onto Otiro, which is massive for Archies.
Yeah, Order of the Blight are playing really aggressive here. As Davros steps up, they pick up J-Rod, and I think Mex is going to be next. This is huge for Archies. This is going to allow them to get back in the game. And guess what's on the menu? It's Fire Giant.
Well, all of a sudden, Order of the Blight had all the territory, all the positioning, but Archies take a very, very good fight. Now, this Fire Giant will not be easy. We do still have Dioi on scene, does not yet have the Through the Cosmos, and Mino Kino looks to have been spotted out on a ward. Dioi getting aggressive onto Davros already, though, will turn the attention off of this Fire Giant, but they will re-engage. Low health as it is, though. They're going to take their time with it, take it slowly. Davros now steps back into the Fire Giant pit. Dioi comes up through the Cosmos. Fire Giant low health. Can they find any kills afterwards? Archies do secure the Fire Giant. Davros low health, but Dioi falls down for their troubles. They try to get the way in. They cannot make it. Fire Giant goes the way of Archies, and all of a sudden, the gold lead that the Order of the Blight had built up throughout this entire 25-minute game has evaporated.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. They're going to keep fighting. As soon as they got that pick on Otiro there at the start of that, they knew that they could fight the rest of this comp. And it was just very well executed here. Able to zone out Dioi off the back end. You saw Davros actually zoning there for a minute, making sure that he wasn't going to step back up, making sure he had to be very far out for this through the Cosmos. And honestly, just really well played by Archies here. Again, they're not letting the mental get shattered. Too often do we see teams in these comp matches where they get, 5,000 plus gold behind and they go, all right, guys, what can we do? Come time communication breaks down. And that does not seem to be the case for Archies. They're like, how do we get back in? And we're going to make it happen. They don't want to hear anything about can't. They want to hear everything about how will.
Yeah, and it's definitely the right mental to have, They fought back already multiple times in this set. Even in game 1, when they didn't end up winning, they still had to fight back from a bit of a deficit. But now this tier 2 tower coming under some pressure. Frostbite already got right on top of Otiro. They will get through the wall, but there is the Fear No Evil right onto Otiro's head and gets slammed down already in this fight. But on the backside, Dioi manages to catch off the opposing ADC. Under the Phoenix go 2 members of Archies, but they don't want to be there. And all of a sudden, this fight's starting to swing swing in favor of Order of the Blight. Dioi on the backside, trying to catch off Ragnarok, who has leapt away into some trouble. Seagull now has used the blast off, has been burned down. Triple kill for Mino Kino in this fight. Now it's just Nikos left to stall out however long they can. It is a tanky Robin, and they do take Dioi in the process, but they will eventually fall down. Quadra kill on the defense from Mino Kino. 5-man wipe off the Fire Giant. Deicide in favor of Order of the Blight, who turned this turnaround all the way back around again.
Yeah, 5-0-6 now for this Merlin. Has to be feeling good that you have that Pendulum of the Ages online, along with this Staff of Mirrodin, which ever since they've changed it just a little bit a couple patches ago has been a mainstay for so many mid laners. Just comes through and just shreds thanks to his tanks and the rest of his team, setting him up and creating the space that he needed. Huge plays there by Order of the Blight to fight back in against that Fire Giant. And again, we're seeing the swinging back and forth, kind of like we did during game 1, where Order of the Blight had a lead, Archies fight back. Order of the Blight then goes, hey, we're going to do this again. And they start taking the lead back. Just fantastic play there by Mino Kino in this mid lane on Merlin.
Has the first Fire Giant in this game, in this set, the first Fire Giant of each game in this, I believe, has been 5-man wiped every time.
I think so.
Right? Yeah, these teams can't hold it. Yeah, it's at least a few. And, you know, I think Archies were right to take that tier 2 siege and to commit to Otiro, but they get so far. I think J-Rod Jr. got low, and it's always a bit of a bait with Xing Chen. You know, that Whirlwind Raging Steel throws 2 members of the front line all the way under Phoenix, and then all of a sudden, the backline has no protection. Dioi wreaks some havoc, gets a pick onto Davros, and it goes just downhill from there for Archies. But they've at least shown they have plenty of fight, and this next Fire Giant dance is possibly going to be the most interesting of them all.
Yeah, I mean, unless Order of the Blight get a lot of good damage off here, as they have a nice kind of grouping here to fight into Archies, but Frostbite steps in and says, no more. Look at that. The shells pop there, and that Phantom Shell is now gone as Otiro gets aggressive under the tier 2.
It's a Purification beats down for Seagull, and Max lurking around the backside. We'll be looking at this Baba Yaga. Blinking forward is Frostbite, trying to lock down this Merlin, but can't quite close the distance. But a big jump in there from Ragnarok, gets a Pheno Evil, but doesn't manage to connect with too many. But a triple kill for Seagull, who was being focused down in this fight, has turned it all the way around. Max now being chased down. Davros picks up that enemy solo laner, and despite Otiro being the target of most of the aggression from Archies, they are now the last player standing and have to retreat all the way back to base. But Archie's going to give chase and take another clean 5v5 engagement.
Look, Seagull was just thinking about the quad and the Penta, and Davros just had to take it away. That's all I have to say about what just happened. No, it was a really good fight there, and a counter engage there by Archies to really turn that around to their favor, pick up the tier 1 tower here, and now Fire Giant's coming back down. The only person they have to worry about is Otiro, and he doesn't have Fields of Love back up yet. He will by the time the Fire Giant falls if he wants to step up, but if he steps up, he may die, which could be catastrophic for Order of the Blight here. I expect that Archies to pull the Fire Giant and pick up a kill on Otiro.
Otiro spotted out, gets committed on. There, leaping forward is Ragnarok. Now that heart bomb will cause him damage, but a good teleport in with the Furious Monkey there. Takes down Otiro, and this will be a free enhanced Fire Giant as it's just ticked over. However, J-Rod Jr. maybe to come in to make sure it's not so free, and Max with the teleport in from the backside. Fire Giant low, but it will go the way of Archies, and then the fight carries on as Davros, very low health, falls down to Max. So the dive in from Dioi. Now Seagull trying to put out all of their damage, but finds himself caught in a bit of a tough spot. Now J-Rod and Max trying to aggress onto this opposing mid laner. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Ragnarok falls down to Dioi in a bit of a brawl. So they do take the enhanced Fire Giant, but it gets wiped off of 2 very, very key members.
What a fantastic teleport in there by Mex. They had no idea he was coming in from there. Obviously, they had kind of vision on J-Rod and him walking up, but Mex being able to come in there from behind did so much for Order of the Blight there, and to cancel Enhanced Fire Giant off of 2 members of Archies is going to go a long way into them being able to defend against this Enhanced Fire. Now, the good news for Order of the Blight, they still have tier 2 towers up where Archies don't. The gold lead at this point doesn't matter too much, as supports are the only ones still really working on their builds. And overall, we're to a point where this game could start swinging either way and go back and forth, kind of what we saw in game 2. It really is going to come down to, can they make use of this enhanced fire giant and get these towers off the map and possibly a Phoenix? If they can do that, I think that pressure starts to mount, as the next Gold Fury that's going to be on the map is an Oni Fury.
Well, we've seen Phoenix pushes be absolutely deadly for both of these teams throughout this set. Now, of course, not having a full 5-on-5 with Enhanced Fire Giant makes things a bit more difficult, but there's still 3 tier 2 towers on the map that, of course, need to go down at some point. Looks like a bit of a grouping at this Oni Fury from both sides. Order of the Blight wanting to take this fight. I'm not sure that's the best idea coming into so many members, but I don't know. Do you think that Order of the Blight have what it takes to take on this engagement?
I mean, if they know that Ragnarok's not there, yes, but he is on the way very quickly, and I think their time of engagement is slowly depleting. I like this positioning here by Archies. They're really trying to set up having Seagull up front to get the vision, and would pop a pretty good amount of damage and possibly the bubbles on people like Dioi and Mex here, but instead they pull this Oni Fury. They're going to get it for free, and now it's up to Archies on how they want to approach taking the rest of this map. It looks like they're going to focus left lane. They're not going to worry about doing a split. They're just going to group as 5 and push down the tier 2.
Of course, those Oni minions will allow for the pressure to mount in all lanes, so they can take their time. They don't have to break the base here. That's not really the goal, but getting these towers down will mean that if they do take a very clean engagement, a full 5-on-5 wipe in favor of Archies, it will mean that they can end the game. But with those tier 2s up, it's always a bit more difficult. It takes that little bit of extra time. So they will take their time. They will sweep on through slowly, as Order of the Blight just have to sit back and wait, unless they want to take an engagement at this tier 2, but it's certainly not recommended at this point. I think this will come down to, can either of these teams avoid just getting picked off?
I think they're going to defend the right tier 2 if Archies decide to step up. It looks like Archies are debating that. They might end up going for the Pyro, but Order of the Blight plan on defending this tier 2 on the right-hand side, and this could spell game for either team, depending on how this fight goes.
With the advanced defense means Otero gets pressured out, already very low health, and falls down already to Nikos. Now a lot of low health members on either side. Seagull on the retreat from Mex, but Mex can't close the distance, and Davros over the wall finds the shot onto the Cucullin. And now this tier 2 tower was being defended, is now defenseless, as still giving chase is Ragnarok. Gets the shot with the monkey and will find Dioi at extremely long range. Now Mino Kino on this Merlin gets shut down by Nikos. This right side Phoenix under a lot of pressure. They're pushing in. They might well take this game down.
Yeah, the step up there by Order of the Blight, I completely understand why you want to defend that, but you just can't against the people that have a advanced fire giant. Now you have J-Rod trying to defend this Titan, and I don't think it matters. That's going to be game for Order of the Blight.
Order of the Blight will not be able to defend this one. Deicide in the end, as Archies take down this Titan. And it is always great, Blaze, to not only win your first game of a new season, but to pull it back in a 2-1 reverse sweep. What a game, and what a set. Very well played by Archies.
Yeah, if I'm going against Archies anytime soon, I'm going to be a little scared, because them being behind meant nothing to them. And I think that's huge, especially when we're talking about teams that are draft teams, right? Some of these players may have played together, but not all 5. And for that communication to be so good for them to fight back into these games is absolutely astounding. So shout outs to Archies for being able to figure out, hey, what went wrong in game 1? How do we handle that in game 2 and 3? And be able to execute on that plan.
It is, of course, criminal if you are Otero on this Cupid to have done so well in the early game and through the team fight stages, but then you can't end up converting it. It just got so focused out towards the end. They've still managed to put up 42,000 player damage. Do not look past that. But the amount of damage in their face at the start of every fight, Frostbite on this Cabrakan, I said it might, struggle late game, and it did not. Was really on top of Otero and was the turnaround for Archies. And, it's great to see a team comp come together when it looks like it might not have, right? They struggled early on, but put it back together, and yeah, really, really well done.
Yeah, I mean, Frostbite we expected to do a lot early, and really he just decided to start doing a lot late, which is kind of crazy on this Cabrakan to be able to come back from that deficit you started off with. And I mean, Otero and Mino Kino had great games, But
Yeah.
Archies were like, no, we know we need to take out Otiro. And they, as soon as they started focusing Otiro, this game changed. This game started going in favor of Archies, and they just executed upon that. Look at Siegel, 7, 2, and 10 on Baba Yaga. You have Devros again on this Artemis, goes 7, 5, and 8. And those damage numbers are nothing to scoff at. I mean, honestly, just a great game and great execution by Archies to turn that game back into their favor.
Yeah, and like I said, it's always great to reverse sweep in an early game like that. And you know, I've been informed that Order of the Blight might be the favorites for the entire season. So for Archies to, you know, take them down a peg or two, I mean that they might need a bit of a rethink, a bit of a change up in strategy, because they were playing so confidently, right? Especially in game 1 and game 3. But they did get punished for it eventually. And, you know, you certainly don't want to find yourself making that a habit, you know, especially if you are a team that is expected to win most, if not all, of their games. But if you could sum up this set as a whole, Blaze, how would you, you know, give me like 5 words?
Game 2, game 3, absolute bloodbath. Like both teams just really wanted to win, and we're like, hey, the way we're gonna win is through fighting. I think that's insane. Otiro may be the most aggressive ADC I've ever watched play while casting. Just, he acted like a frontliner. He did. There was a point where he dashed into 2, and his team was like running behind, trying to catch up. I think this is just, it was exciting. If I had to say anything about this set, it was exciting once we got to game 2 and game 3. I think game 1, there was kind of like the feeling out, trying to figure out, you know, just like you watch a boxing match, they're trying to do jabs, trying to figure out what's going on. But after that, I mean, it really just ramped up, and both these teams like to fight. I think that's exciting to watch.
Well, this, of course, is the end of the game, which will mean this will be the end of the set and the stream. But this, of course, if you're not aware, has been round number 3 of So You Think You Can Cast. We're going to take a quick look at the league table as this first set of games has gone through. And yeah, you know, it's interesting to see a couple of 2-0s here and there, but the only 2-1 goes the way of Archies. But as I was saying, as this has been our round 3 cast of So You Think You Can Cast, we are thankful for all of you for stopping by and supporting us through this stream. There will at some point be a voting document sent out. Not today, I don't believe, but it will be sent out so you can cast your votes on us right now or anyone else you see throughout the day. I actually believe that the next game in this in this round 3 is actually about to start very soon. So you know we've timed this out extremely well. Shout out to Printers on production for that. Because I've been Judas Priestley, joining me today has been Blaze McBain. And Blaze, I believe this is your first time casting for Glaria, so how can you sum up your experience here today?
This was awesome. I've actually never got to cast a Draft Leagues game. I think this is just really interesting to watch because these teams were just made. They play a season together. They get to learn about each other. And then next season, hey, you're with a different team. And again, I think it goes back to that word of just being exciting. It kind of makes you like fight through those nerves and like learn about how to play with other people. And I'm all about that. You know, creating a positive comp environment that allows multiple people to play no matter the skill level and pair with people that may even be a little bit above their skill level and help people grow is awesome. I loved it. It was great.
Oh, awesome stuff. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thanks again to Printers for asking us to come on in and for having, you know, doing production this whole time. It's been really, really good fun. But yes, that will be us signing off for this evening. Like I said, thank you all for joining us. Thanks to Glaria, thanks to Printers, thanks to everyone. I've been Judas Priestley, joined by Blaze McMain. We will see you guys very, very soon.
Later.
disco like the disco, disco.